What's up, everybody?
Hey, guys.
Hello. Danny's
We're back.
Danny's back. Hey,
I'm
Danny.
back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Feeling better?
Well back. Yes.
As he cracks open a beer. Yes, feeling much better.
Feel excellent.
My voice is kind of gone.
Yeah,
in
that's
a weird
right.
way, yeah. So apologies for that.
Hey,
If
no
it goes-
problem. No
if it
problem.
goes-
No problem.
It'll be actually to everybody's benefit if you can't hear me. But
So, you guys are listening to the Flat Out Fever Formula One podcast.
episode 56.
Wow, we're getting there, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's feeling good. It's
Getting
feeling
what,
good.
57?
Yeah.
We're almost at 57.
Yes. Welcome everybody. If you're a new listener, this is the show. Welcome. We are gonna talk about some F1 stuff, I'm sure, at some point or another. But first, and before we get into the China review,
China? Oh, yes.
before we get into the China review and all that, two things. Number one, thanks to everybody that again showed up for the F1 at Betty's screening of the Chinese Grand Prix. Seriously, thanks. It's a lot of fun. It's been always a lot of fun to host. We will continue to be to do these all year round.
Especially with that weather.
Yeah.
A little bit less turnout, which was expected.
Right.
On my way there, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this race right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted to see it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh man, it's been a good couple, a good week and a bit of good weather that we're having. It's improving weather.
Yeah, it's nice. Everyone was sort of worried about snow.
No, didn't happen. And number two, the contest is still on.
That's right, guys. The contest is still on. Your entries, we'll take them until the first week of May. Is that right?
Yeah, or
Pretty
no,
much.
the end of this month, to the 26th or something is when.
So you guys got a week.
Next Tuesday, 1 week.
Oh, wow.
Is that it?
Yeah.
that
Let me
Yeah.
get my
Today's the 19th.
my piece of papier.
Oh, we suck.
All right. Sorry, guys. But for the contest, all you guys really need to do to win two pairs, two tickets.
Two pairs.
Two pairs. Oh, my
No,
God.
one pair.
One pair of tickets to the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal.
Yes.
That's June?
Yeah, the weekend of June the 12th. So yes, the deadline to for all your entries is coming up. So within the next week, we expect to see everybody's entry. Keep sending them in. We've had some great stuff so far. But yeah, and we will be announcing the winner in the first week of May.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's
Correct. Yeah.
And to remind everyone, all you have to do is create a original piece of art about the Canadian Grand Prix. So it can be a video, a drawing, painting, a song, music video.
If you just want to do a write down of just related to the Canadian Grand Prix, and we will be judging and picking the best out there. There's prizes for second and third place as well.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good one. So keep sending your stuff. Now we can get into what a good race that was.
Holy moly. That was exciting, I think.
That was ridiculous.
Third
Yes.
third
I
race
totally.
in a row.
I just came across on YouTube. Somebody made a compilation video of the Chinese Grand Prix, all of the passes put into
Oh, wow.
one video.
That's
16 minutes long.
That is long.
It's a lot
Holy
of passing.
shit.
It's just a full action race. Yeah.
No, it was great.
So many different strategies.
There's a guy
employed.
on Reddit that tried to compile all the passes that happened, and he came up with the number 173.
Holy shit.
Like overtake maneuvers.
It's got to be close to a record, if not
It's-
the record.
Yeah, it's already a record because the second race with most overtakes was Brazil 2012 with 144. So that was
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, we saw a lot of action from beginning to end. It was amazing.
Right.
I want to say something though. So we
Like right out of the
Just
gate.
one thing quickly so I can close this tab. Another record. This was the 6th race ever where every car finished
Yeah.
since 1950. Every car finished the race that started.
Mhm.
And also this was the first time
no retirements. Yeah.
that every car finished during a safety car.
Mm.
There've been all the other times that every car finished the race, no retirements. There had been no safety cars.
Yeah.
But the safety car came out, and every car still managed to finish.
Yeah.
There were safety cars, but just nobody had to quit.
And that really says something about the reliability of where everybody's getting to right now.
Well, a lot of luck too.
Well,
a lot of it was just like happened to not pop tires or whatever, get plastic in a spot it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But that being said, there were like a lot of little collisions.
Oh yeah,
I've never seen so many front wings just destroyed.
without the end plate.
Unofficially, I don't know for real, but that might be another record. There were 35 wings used for 22 cars in the race.
Jesus.
So seven wing replacements.
Good
Yeah, 7 wing
gravy.
replacements. Plus, Vettel should have had one, so it could have been 8. Yeah, that I'm not. I don't know if they've been keeping track of that since the beginning of time. But I'm pretty sure that's a record as well.
Yeah, it could be very, very much so.
7 replaced wings. Yeah, sometimes you see 1.
That's it. Yeah.
Usually, when you lose your front wing, the car's done.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to have 7,
Yeah.
crazy.
It was lucky for sure.
Yeah, a lot of luck for sure.
We had, but it was
Also a lot of reliability and stuff.
yeah, and also like maybe also has something to say about the quality of the drivers in this field, because a lot of the collisions and a lot of these accidents could have gone a lot worse. It could
Absolutely.
it could have ended in some sort of a retirement, but 0 people retired, which is awesome. Number one thing though that I want to say before we start talking about the race itself. I know that this almost seems like old news now, but let's for a minute take a second to remember how we had the qualifying that everybody wanted, and thank goodness for that. It's like they couldn't have picked a better argument for bringing qualifying back to how it was than that qualifying session. Like this.
So, remind me exactly what happened during qualifying,
okay,
or maybe what was so exciting.
Man, it was
about
great. It was great because a lot of the times with the old format, which we're gonna call the old format,
In quotes.
yeah.
The new old format.
Some of the most exciting qualifying sessions that I've seen with that old format have been either under wet conditions or as the
Rain,
track
yeah.
is drying out.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. The track started soaked, and it still had those 2 patches,
Right.
Directly under those huge wings in the Shanghai circuit that kept that were
kept it
still
dry.
wet.
Oh,
no,
wet.
yeah,
Oh, wet, right.
Yeah. So as the rest of the track kept drying, there were still 2 big pools of water, and that threw off Verline. Yeah, like it's.
He wrecked his car.
Yeah, I'm glad that they were able to
But that was
together.
awesome. It caused the red flags.
Yeah,
We still haven't had a solid qualifying this year to see how
fully in the dry,
the full pure pace of the
See,
cars.
okay, this is something that's bothering
Still
about
haven't
this
seen it.
argument.
Yeah.
For this qualifying, especially correct me if I'm wrong, but like the 2 races before, there was some wetness, right? As on top of whatever format there was.
But it was all about how the format was, right? Like
Right, absolutely.
This
Wait,
qualifying.
Overshadowed
okay,
everything.
but
yeah.
I think we can all sort of agree that clearly having a wet qualifying makes things very, very interesting.
Oh, yes. Absolutely, yes.
And so
And having a wet race is equally as interesting.
right, but I think we've just sort of gotten lucky
Yeah.
when it comes to these things, because it's really exciting, because it's not so cut and dry literally anymore. So that's kind of what's bothering me, is that what if the next 5-10 races are just all in the dry and
Bone dry.
and it becomes like this mediocrity of sort of competition, where like you just now things are back to normal, because
I think that
Well, I don't think anyone was really sick of the old qualifying that we've been using the last couple of years.
right.
Yeah, nobody was sick of it
No,
yet.
it's still-
and also,
Sorry,
it's,
my argument is for the sake of excitement.
Well,
More
it
so-
was-
it's still totally refreshed because there's 3 tire choices.
yes,
now.
exactly. The 3 tire choices have really spiced up things for sure. Number 1, number 2, we are seeing that with this stability in the regulation, apparently this Swiss watch manufacturer can produce some pretty good engines because the Red Bull got up there, right? And
that Tag Heuer power.
yeah. So there's teams we never really got to see the full like pace of the Ferrari in anger because Vettel like gambled on that one lap and he couldn't get it like quite fast enough. So we haven't seen but there are like things are pointing towards the rest of the pack catching up to Mercedes. Okay, right. Nico Rosberg later in the race was able to just run away with it, but
in regard to qualifying and Nico Rosberg and him running away, and what you were just saying about them going back to this old format, Mercedes and him, it's because Lewis's car broke. He didn't get to qualify.
Right.
But his strategy with this new rule, 3 choices, and the tires that you use in Q2, if you move on to Q3, must be used to start the race.
Right.
So Mercedes took a slight chance, I guess. They put the softs instead of the super soft on the Mercedes. And Nico went out and took it easy and posted like a lower range time, kept the tires fresh, moved on still to Q3. And then he was one of the only people and especially in first place, that started the race that wasn't on the super soft.
Right.
So you got a huge advantage with regarding like the strategy pit stop.
Oh yeah, no, I
haven't seen any other teams do that yet, really.
No,
and I guess the qualifying is totally different now. So this is kind of like the first qualifying of the year again.
Yeah, basically.
As far as strategy goes, the other ones you can't compare them anymore because the strategy was different.
Yeah.
The outset was different.
Let's take a minute though to also refresh, and I just want to refresh our viewers and listeners. This qualifying that we have again, the one that makes sense, the good qualifying, came about as a bit of an accident. It's so good, kind of accidentally, because it was brought by to remedy the situation of like a really flawed qualifying where they basically wanted to add up the times. This was back in the refueling days, though.
Okay.
So what they had before was they all did one lap, right? And then the next day they also basically did like another qualifying session, like real quick qualifying session before the race, just to like see like how like the idea was to kind of even things out.
Right.
You would take a reading of the car's top speed during under qualifying trim,
right,
and then under race trim. So then add the two together, and that gave you your grip position, which was there were so many things wrong with it. So to remedy that, they and to just sort of like come up with like a quick solution to that, they came up with this Q1, Q2, Q3 system.
Oh, weird.
Which has stuck ever since 2006 because it works. Because accidentally they created something that actually produces like quick fire action, those 3 sessions with like the elimination that happens in between each session. Great. And it's great also for TV because there's breakings in between. It's good. It's good all around. Hard to improve on that. But it happened.
It's open too. It's so open. There's not like a one shot. You have like a window.
Yeah.
Right. You find your gap. You send your car out. If you have a mistake, you can try to wait till the end till the track warms up and stickies up.
But then there's something.
But then you might fuck up like Vettel did this weekend.
Yeah.
He went deep into the last corner there.
Yeah.
Screwed up his time and started fourth.
Exactly. It's really flexible in terms of the strategy that you can take within qualifying.
Right.
Which is awesome. It's really like it really showed. It's one of the best things in the sport was that qualifying and how things and look, it's still managed to mix up the grid for the race, which is what they wanted, and it did just that with Hamilton having that breakdown. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. It won't be super exciting every single time, and
look at
the red flag in Q3 really screwed up.
Right,
McLaren especially.
Yeah,
those 2 guys were pissed.
Yeah,
and the thing is, like,
Alonso and Button were pissed.
It sucks because I would never want to artificially try to create that.
Right.
Because it would never be as exciting.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest problem about it.
That is the key, is that it happened by accident.
Yeah.
Right? And I just want to say, like, I just want to point that out, that now that we're going into this stupid mess of of figuring out whether the 2017 rules should change or not, you have on one side the FIA and FOM and Bernie basically trying to clamp down more and like over regulate. They basically wanna just come and like really restrict things, whereas really what works is either you come up to like you come up with it basically by accident, or you open things up. Like the way to go is not over regulation and trying to control stuff.
Right.
Like really, that's what ruins the action.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, Bernie Ecclestone is he's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's not a designer.
Right.
Like, by definition, because obviously he's got to wheel and deal, right? He's got to talk to other companies. He's got to talk to other countries in order just to get this thing off the ground.
Yeah.
But I don't think he nearly puts as much time as he sort of ought to into actually designing a sport or a game or entertainment or whatever they want to define themselves. Or his haircut. Or his
Obviously.
complexion. The Dark Lord that he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. His hair is whatever.
Man, but what
So, okay,
what else can we say?
Sorry.
He doesn't have to give a fuck.
To get back to what we were talking about, what I'm worried about is that we've had sort of like this this lucky streak or maybe unlucky streak of like these really odd qualifying.
Right.
Especially with the weather, more so the weather than the actual format of qualifying.
And the format, I mean, like Danny said, like who doesn't matter now what happened in the first two races.
Right.
Really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's always been exciting.
It has been. It has been. And
I'm worried that it's not going to stay like that.
Listen, we can't have like we've been #blessed with the way that the year has started. In the sense that we've had some really great races back to back to back.
Yeah.
If anything, like there's been an increase in like the amount of action. Obviously,
So what I said from Prix Australia podcast, you don't want it. I was hoping for that rain on practice, and like, you don't want everything to go right from the beginning because it's giving us a nice rollout to the season too.
Oh, absolutely. But now, I think now though, starting from the next race, starting from Russia, like I think it would be unreasonable to expect that we're gonna have as exciting of a qualifying and as exciting of a race. And in fact, if we have it the way that the engineers would like it, with a bone dry qualifying in a bone dry race with like standard temperatures that don't fluctuate and not a lot of wind or whatever else that they prefer. If we have those conditions for Russia, which could happen, very well could happen.
So Chido doesn't. The track's not the best for racing. It's fun to. It's really fun to drive. Like if you get on it, it's fun. Check it in a video game or something. But as far as the racing that it does, it's not the best.
Yeah, I mean last year's Russian Grand Prix, actually, by the time it came to the Russian Grand Prix, it was probably one of the most interesting races last year. I remember like us talking about it quite a bit. But the thing is that if it's the same, if there's the same amount of action this year, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna say like, you know what, it wasn't as good as China, obviously,
right?
Because it's gonna be hard to beat, 100%. But oh my god, what a crazy good race! Like obviously, I want to hope for more of that to come. I'm being realistic though. I think that we're gonna get into like the mid-season lull where like the more predictable races, and that's the thing. If you have a bone dry qualifying and a bone dry race with the perfect conditions as far as the engineers want him, what we're gonna see is a Mercedes 1-2 followed by a Ferrari, and it's gonna become like the whole predictable thing. But that's not to say that things are not going to be right. The things that are not going to be even interesting, even if that happens, because we can pretty much guarantee that even if that happens, we're going to have a midfield that's going to be action packed. Right. That's pretty much the guarantee that we have this year.
Well, like because McLaren is obviously doing much better than they were before, which is great. Haas is back.
Renault seems to have dropped down a bit.
Yeah, no, that's a trend I've been sort of noticing.
You gotta see if Haas can keep doing what they've been doing.
Before we move on, I just had a question, and we already sort of talked about it, but it was so obviously the qualifying has been changed, but I wanted to ask you guys about the tires in the selection process, and how do you think it sort of has shaped or influences the last few races?
Well, actually,
It's shaped them a lot.
Yeah. And
sure.
in what way? Like, I'm trying to understand like how strategy, because it seems so diverse. Like, depending on the constructors, depending on the drivers, depending on the I guess the engineers, the same as constructors. But obviously, this has brought another element almost of luck. But
Man,
there's a skill there, right?
I'm pretty sure that like when all of this was getting finalized last year, like Danny and I were basically salivating, like, oh my god, like this third tire, it's gonna like just adding that just one extra one,
And even with the ultra soft that they introduced as a usable compound, they originally were talking about 6. And they're still thinking about it for next year, that there might be an ultra hard as well, an extra hard tire.
Yeah.
But it seems like also we'll save it for the end of the show, but it might change completely.
Oh, yeah.
But I just highlighted a link on the link page.
Yes.
Throw that up just while we're talking.
Since we're talking, let's not get too much into the next Grand Prix before we finish talking about this
No,
one.
it's not about China. This is not about Russia, about China.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for the listeners to look at, anyone that's watching. Or if you're listening, check out Pirelli. Just type Pirelli tire chart, I guess.
Yeah,
They put out a huge compilation of all the tires that were used this weekend, by who, when, how many laps, when they were used, if they were used or new when they were put on. All the data you could think of.
These are really great, and Pirelli has been doing that actually since the beginning of the year. It's kind of like their thing for 2016. They're putting these infographics together, and they're amazing. They're really worth checking out. Like, it tells you a lot of information in a very elegantly present format. Like, look at this chart; it's beautiful.
You can clearly see what I said about Rosberg there at the top. Almost all the top 10 cars started on the super soft and pitted on the 4th lap as soon as they could to get to change them. He started
Right, because they
on,
had to start with the tires that qualified on.
but he caught in Q2, if you make it to Q3.
Oh.
Otherwise, you can use whatever tires you want.
Now listen, and this is what people like say, like, oh, it's already kind of too complicated for the fans. And honestly, it's not. It's just you have to listen, you have to hear it like a few times, and then I'm sure like anybody will get it. So listen. The cars have 3 tire choices now, because there's three tires available for them to use each race, but they don't have to use all 3. They just have to use at least 2 of the compounds, right? And that's what you can see here at the top with Nico Rosberg. He started on the softs and only changed once to the mediums towards the end.
But him and Mercedes was the only team that took that strategy in Q2 to post a slower time in Q2. You don't have to be the fastest. Whereas every other team, if you see how some of the tires are hollow and some are solid.
Yeah, so that's used.
Everyone that's solid is a car. They got their own choice, and they started on whatever tire they wanted.
From here, like you're talking about here.
And the top ones, Massa and Hamilton as well.
Yes. Right.
See, Hamilton finished high up, but he started at the bottom. He got his own choice because he didn't make it to Q3, and neither did Massa. Massa had just a really good race. But yeah, it's interesting to see.
That's pretty great.
Absolutely, yeah. No, this, geez, we could sit here and like talk about the race all day. Really, I mean, what else hasn't been said? But, to me, like I gotta say. The performance of the McLarens definitely was something good to see. They're getting into the points.
Right. Did they get points this race?
No. They finished 11th and 12th. But they're getting up there.
They're being a little more consistent.
What everybody's talking about is Red Bull and how good their cornering is.
Right.
It seems like the Red Bull is the fastest car around those slower corners.
Aerodynamics.
Yeah. Again,
back on point.
That huge rack and the rake that they run in the car, and it seems like that has been their deal for a long time. They never went for like huge top straight line speed.
Brundle mentioned that their car had a notice, like if you look at the wings, I guess like you're standing beside the car, they had a noticeably higher degree rake than the other cars, and that it was costing them about 3 to 5 kilometers per hour on the straights. That's what he said.
But that's what
The
they
top
like.
speed.
It seems like that's Newey's strategy, even from back in the day when Vettel was winning all the races back in the old V8 days.
Yeah, they didn't have the top speed.
They never had the top speed. They always went and like they were kind of like their strategy is just go for the higher rake, stick to the high to like running a really high rake, and then figure out everything else around it. Figure out like how to keep the car still stuck, But once you figure that out and still have that huge amount of rake, that is one of the things that produces the most amount of downforce.
Yeah.
With
more downforce at lower speed.
Yeah, more downforce at lower speed with less drag. Like it's
and more turbulence.
So it
makes it harder for the other cars behind to follow you.
Exactly.
Which was their strategy in the Vettel days.
Yeah.
Extra strategy was designing like Mercedes does now, a car that performs better in open air.
Yes.
They were at the time, and Mercedes now expecting to be running out front.
Right.
With one of their two vehicles. And
now, from that podcast, not our podcast, the Motorsport Magazine podcast that Pat Simmons was in most recently at the beginning of the year. He said something interesting. He said that, if you reverse the grids, it could have the unintended consequence of making sure that the cars were designed to overtake rather than just go like get lost in the clean air. This is a situation. I mean, whether you agree with that or not, this is pointless. But this is kind of the situation that Red Bull finds themselves in right now, because they knew going into the season that they were not going to be getting pole position every race. So they had to be clever and design a car that can both overtake and be quick and still keep their philosophy of running that really high rake and the maximum downforce around the corners. It's really, really interesting to see how that's going to take them, because it seems like they've cracked it. They have given those two guys a car that can overtake, and getting like in tracks like China, where you're relying on slowing down after that really long straight, and then
the longest straight on the circuit, 1.3 kilometers,
and then taking that taking a run at that huge corner. The overtaking is going to happen in the corners. So if you have a car that sticks to the track like nothing else in the corners, and then on top of that you can maneuver to overtake,
you can brake harder, and you don't have to slow down as much.
Then
decelerate more quickly and not have to decelerate as much.
So based on that, number one, how do you think that they're going to fare? Just purely talking about Red Bull, how do you think they're going to fare based on that in Russia? And do you think there's going to be another track that's going to suit them just as good as they did in China?
As far as downforce, like going to Monaco, the Baku this year seems like you need the downforce.
But those are not
Singapore.
Those are not flowy corners. Not as much. Like not the city ones, because the city ones are not like those jagged 90-degree corners.
But if that's their specialty, those are the lowest speed corners
for sure
in the year.
Well, certainly Monaco, like top speed doesn't matter as much.
Baku is going to be interesting because they're predicting one of the lower average speeds, but at the same time one of the highest top speeds.
Right.
If they might be the second highest outside of Mexico with the thinner air, the altitude, that Baku might be the second fastest track, but also one of the lowest top speeds. So that might suit them very well.
I think
the city circuits, a handful of city circuits for sure.
Kind of what going to that. I think that, like, to me, it seems like the Red Bull is going to be one to watch for like races like Hungary. Like Hungary is going to suit them really well, I think.
Yeah, something like Sepang, it's going to be back to like Mercedes Ferrari domination. Those two guys, Haas, I guess.
What about
Russia?
What do you think they can do in Russia?
So that's what I meant. Russia.
Yeah.
Russia is one of the more middle of the road as far as downforce and speed. So yeah, I think like for the next race, it's gonna be back to Mercedes, Ferrari, maybe Haas. In up there, the Williams, the typical the cars you'd expect.
The usual suspects.
Yeah. The off circuits like China has. It's a big circuit with slow corners. Yeah, which is it's interesting. Big different combos.
It's grown on me, man. It seems to me like that for the past handful of years, every time that it comes around to like watching the Chinese Grand Prix, like we come out with like a race, and I grow to appreciate the circuit more and more.
I love the design of it. I think it looks really interesting. There's a lot of weirdness.
It's a really cool.
You remember when you were watching it, that one corner? I'm not sure which corner it was, but it had like this gnarly lift on like its left side.
It's that corner that goes up. It's like really early into the race. I don't know if it's like turns like 3, 4, or 5.
The
or
first
whatever.
one. Here, China.
Yeah,
China.
You know that
we
corner,
talked
like,
about
it goes all the way up there with the increasing camber as well.
Oh yeah. I forget. Yeah, it's the two flowy ones.
Yeah.
7 and 8, I think it is. I think it's 7 and 8.
Really cool.
Yeah, super neat.
It's kind of weird. I think like the first like the first corner that goes into itself. I think they count that as 4 corners. I think it's four. I think that's the first 4 corners, or the first 3 or 4.
2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, the first like 270 degrees is 2 corners. I think it's kind of weird.
It was good, man. I mean, like I said, we can sit here and talk about whatever already is being talked about. Everybody knows. Everybody is listening to this podcast. I'm sure I watched the race. Yeah, it was awesome.
What about Lewis Hamilton?
Lewis Hamilton.
Can you throw up the link? I have a link highlighted at the top there. Mercedes fact of the day. This was I believe Sunday.
How passive aggressive is this?
This is a tweet from Mercedes. Hashtag fact of the day at Lewis Hamilton. Overtakes today, 18. Overtakes on Lewis Hamilton today, 2. Damaged car, check mark. Phased,
no.
Not check mark.
Anti-check mark.
Don't do that symbol. Hashtag hammer time. Hashtag F1.
Okay, so I had a question about his sort of part in the race, which was, man, how many stops did he have? 5? 5 stops?
It was to say that silly stuff where they like tried the super stuff and they were like, no, come back in, softs again.
They only did it because the super soft was one of the 2 tires you had to use.
Right.
Pirelli said you had to use the super soft once. But he got lucky, I guess, with the timing of that. That he could get rid of it right away.
He had to use it. Remember, Nico Rosberg didn't use it with super softs.
Oh,
he had to use it for his strategy. They thought they messed up the strategy a little bit.
The 2 cars had separate strategies.
Yeah, that's it.
It was only, I think, Mercedes and Williams had split the strategies between their drivers.
They were saving those super softs because they thought that he was gonna be able to like gain a bunch of positions, but then
he got hit.
Well, whether he got hit or not, but listen, okay, I was watching this this accident again, his accident when he went with Fred Nasser, right, and you could say that, you know what, it was just like a racing incident and whatever, and like it was that's what nobody, the stewards didn't investigate it. They figured that whatever the damage had been done, that was good enough. Nobody got any penalties for it. But if you're Lewis Hamilton and you know that you have the fastest car, it's a bit miscalculated if you try to go like right at lights off. Just gun it. Try to overtake as many people as you can. Like that, you might put yourself in a situation where an accident is inevitable.
Right.
If he had played it safe, and I know that everybody has an opinion on this or whatever, but if he had played it safe and just made sure that he like gained like, go for 1 or 2 positions gain.
Right.
Don't go for 7.
Right.
And then just nurse it and like know that you're gonna be able to overtake him one by one. There's a long race ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because he was definitely able to do that.
Oh,
I think he just got gung ho, right?
Yeah, he got gung ho. And was that a miscalculation of Lewis? Is Lewis losing his cool a little bit in the face of Nico? I think so. I think so.
mental barrier, his psychological barrier is impenetrable. All other drivers with psychologists, sports psychologists, and trainers are weak-minded.
They also
mind and in spirit.
well, they also don't have a rap album coming out, so
Yeah, as I said on Sunday, he's gonna have to drop that soon if he keeps up this type of driving,
yeah.
just to generate some attention.
His
He was
ego needs it.
He's about an hour or two ago. I just saw a link on ESPN News. Lewis Hamilton quoted as saying he promotes F1 better than anyone. However, better than anyone on Earth.
Anyone on Earth?
On the planet.
Wow.
Still he rises.
I'm just rattling off some quotes here. I'm not trying to like kiss his ass too much. But Toto Wolff as well. Yesterday, I think he was saying they're asking him like, "What do you think? Like, is Nico's taking off? He's gonna get the championship this year. What happened to Lewis?"
Yeah.
Toto said, "No, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah, Lewis will close the gap to Nico. We're not concerned." That's what he said.
We just want to win.
So there's still a bit of bias even within his own team towards
you know
Lewis.
what they've been saying.
They probably
though.
don't want Rosberg to win just because, like,
There's
he's a great driver, but he's kind of just a douche.
Yeah.
There's a lot of races to go though. If you go back like 3 years, there's still the entire season left.
Oh yeah, well, but that's the thing. A lot of people are harping on like this really riding hard on the Nico train, and they're saying like, yo, like, this is like it's never happened before in F1 history that the driver that wins the first 3 races doesn't win the championship. So that means that this year is gonna be Nico Rosberg's year or whatever. Listen, calm down, everybody. It is also. There's also something else this year that hasn't happened before, and that's 21 races. It's a long fucking season.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff to come.
So people are saying like, oh, Mercedes, Nico's record is stretched over 2 seasons. It doesn't count. But I think if you go back to Ascari's record, it's also over 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they used to do like 6, 7, 8 races a year.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 Grand Prix a year. But at the same time, if Mercedes wins, I think 2 more, they've broken the record for the most consecutive races by a team, which is set by McLaren in '88.
Yeah.
All the way back to '88. That's an old record.
And they're going.
It's almost a 30-year-old record.
You know that they're probably going to like the only who can. Let's
I
look
would-
at the what. Okay, so what are
Russia, I think I give for sure to Mercedes unless something crazy happens.
Yeah.
What's that? And what comes after Russia?
Yeah. Well, like what's
Which is the next one? I don't remember right now.
Yeah.
While you pull that up, also China related, so I can close this window too. Renault's back. Renault is committed to a full-scale return to Formula One as a works team. So they've been building up their facility, they've been building up their team, building up their car, and building up their young driver program. So just on Wednesday.
Building a driver's program.
Rebuild. They used to have one.
Well, yeah.
They made their 5th hire on Wednesday, just before this weekend started, in China, of a Chinese driver. And this is, I forget what year, but it's the first in a long fucking time. This guy is 15 years old, signed to Renault straight from go-karts.
And here's the thing.
To an F1 team.
He's actually worth noting because
Sun Yue Yuang is his name.
There's a good in a country of well over 1 billion people like China is you're bound like it's in plain like reasoning and statistical probability you're bound to find like there's gotta be a good driver in China. Come on, there's no way.
Stereotypes aside. All stereotypes aside.
I realize how that came.
Not to mention Renault is the yellow team. Sorry.
There's gotta be a good F1 prospect in China.
Look at this guy's face, man.
There's an open search for it, man.
Pull up his face. This guy looks like he's fucking serious. You compare him to
where's the link?
Sun, SUN, space YUE, space Yang. That's his name.
Sun Ying.
Sun Yue Yang.
Sun Yue Ying.
But this guy's signed to an F1 team straight from go-karts.
Yeah. There's
him as like an 8-year-old. He's
15
years old.
He's racing
that photo
right
on the
now.
right though, on the top right. There's the release photo.
Yeah.
So you see with his 2 teammates, they look Palmer and K-Mag right there, they look a little too happy. This guy's like, no,
This guy's
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He's gonna take both of their jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
K-Mag's not living up to his promise.
It's not misplaced enthusiasm over this guy. Like because he's not only successful or hasn't been successful in the at a China level, but he's now also karting in Europe, which is where you find the most competitive karting leagues, and he's demonstrated some talent, from what I understand. So I mean, good for him. There's also, I mean, you gotta understand too that he doesn't necessarily he can be talented enough to be a good driver, not a star driver, not the next Vettel, but as long as he's a competent, good driver, if you nurse his talent and if you bring him to F1, you know that you're gonna get at least a little chunk of that 1 billion people watching and caring for his success.
Absolutely.
And even if it's 1% of that, that's still a chunk of people. You can fill a Grand Prix attendance with that. Absolutely. So there you go. And there is every indication that attendance in F1, even though so when F1 went to China, 2004, they had the biggest attendance that they've had.
First time, but they gave away tickets.
Quarter of a million people showed up, right? And since
gave away all the tickets, a lot of them. But it was packed this weekend. There had a lot of people there.
That's it. And it had a history where the attendance obviously declined sharply in the second year, and there were years where it was almost kind of sad to see the Chinese race because the stands were all empty. But now it's starting to fill up and fill up and fill up and fill up. There is a growing interest.
You've been to Shanghai, right?
Yeah.
I was saying to you on the weekend when we watched the race, and we talked about it on the podcast last year. Last year, because the attendance was up so high, what you had said was when you ride the subway in Shanghai, they built kind of a bunch of subway lines that leave the city for the Olympics, show off how amazing the city is. But they weren't being used and they got shut down. Yeah. But last year they reopened the line that runs out to the track from downtown.
Oh, perfect! Right.
Because the attendance was so building up.
Yep.
At least it's open for the race.
Yep.
Just 2 more facts for the Chinese fans. This is the second guy affiliated from China with F1 right now. Ferrari's got
they have another one?
A Chinese dude in their young driver program. He's a bit older. He's racing in Formula 3. So more of a serious thing. But no Chinese man has ever started a Formula 1 race.
Ooh,
and only one has ever participated in an F1 weekend.
Ooh.
The team, which doesn't exist anymore, HRT, which I guess they sort of exist, whatever.
That'd be crazy if Formula 1 just... I mean, I'm sure if there was a Canadian driver in Formula 1, racing, I would be so much more inclined to watch it, if not for this podcast.
There
obviously.
Might be very soon. But I think you guys talked about it a bit last week. Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah, that's right.
The Canadian we've sort of been following. There was a bit of rumors going around that his father, who's a billionaire, his father might be investing into the Williams team, a large sum of money.
Has not been denied though.
That was denied all on all sides. But don't mistake that kid will be in Formula 1.
Listen, I don't think the Stroll's connection with Ferrari is completely severed. I think they chose to do something that was convenient at the time because there's just no more room in the Ferrari Drivers Academy. There was not long-term contracts. Being realistic, there maybe wasn't a quick going with Williams. Signing with Williams is maybe a quicker path into Formula 1. But
you never know if behind the scenes Williams might be thinking about a Ferrari engine.
Yes. So
right?
There's always that.
There's always that.
And number two, you never know what's going to happen with this Alfa purchase. Right? Because if Stroll goes in with Ferrari and says, listen, we're going to bring you a bunch of fashion brands and make this Alfa Romeo, because what Ferrari's trying to do, or what Alfa Romeo, the whole foundation for this Alfa Romeo thing,
the Alfa revival of the road cars, even like you were just saying, is kind of a fashionable type thing.
Yeah,
they're more of a show off type of car, right? It's not really like a pure race car.
It's a beautiful car for beautiful people.
Beautiful, yeah. It's not like a pure race car in that they have like 500 horsepower and like can pull 2 Gs on a corner.
Yeah.
And they're not. Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. They're trying to show
Fashionable. It's a fashionable car. It's a car that you bring to Monaco,
it's
right?
Called the Giulia.
Giulia.
Their first new model. They do look beautiful.
Julia.
The Giulia. But yeah, they look beautiful. They're very, very flowy.
They have that Alfa style. There's something about an Alfa, like
There's something about it.
Yeah, it's got that. It's that type of car.
And I mentioned a bunch of times a dude I went to high school with. I was friends with Andrew. His dad was a mechanic, and he had rebuilt a 1950s Alfa. It was beautiful. It's a two-seater convertible. I don't remember the model name, but like the dude came to hang out at my house a few times. His dad dropped him off in that.
Nice.
Like, wow, this thing is fucking amazing, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful car.
And that's
Italian, dude.
Exactly, and that's what's that's what leads some credibility to this Alfa rumor. Number one. Number two, I think it has been like so long in the pipelines, like whether won't they, like at first it was that association with Toro Rosso, which I mean maybe it could have happened, maybe not. There's the thing now with Sauber, like maybe turning Sauber into Alfa Romeo. That, by the way, doesn't seem very likely.
Seems less likely after this weekend.
Yes.
A few quotes that got passed around.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess we'll touch on that later. But there could be something to that. And if Lawrence Stroll wants to bring in some of his billions and his money that's associated with luxury fashion brands, I think Alfa Romeo would be a team that would welcome that sponsorship. Very much so.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't like money?
Yeah, that's the other thing. For sure.
Oh, shit, you got a ton of money? Yeah, fucking bring it on, man. Decent driver? Yeah, okay.
So another quick odd fact regarding sponsorship.
Yeah.
There's been a rumor going around Formula One as a whole might be getting a global sponsor in Heineken soon.
What's going on? What's happening?
We're good.
What's happening?
We're fine.
Jeez.
We're fine. It's fine. Windows 10 just wants to
Windows it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know, there might be a Heineken.
Who broke that? Like, what was the deal with that? Do you read
gotten leaked? I don't remember. It just popped in my head.
Just a Heineken global sponsor for Formula One. Formula One brought to you by Heineken.
I could see that. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bertie's trying to squeeze as much money out of the sport.
Wait, before he gets kicked out, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Any majillionaires out there, by the way, the Canadian Grand Prix Octane Promotions or whatever the fuck they call it, they don't have a title sponsor for the Canadian Grand Prix this year. That's why we haven't got our tickets in the mail or by email yet. They don't have a title sponsor because it has to say
presented
the
by
blank Canadian Grand Prix. It's always like the Rolex Grand Prix or whatever.
We have our tickets.
We have our tickets?
Yeah, we have our tickets.
What does it say on them?
I don't remember, but we have our tickets. Yeah, PDF.
Maybe they stopped shipping out tickets. The news article I read about them not having a sponsor said that they weren't mailing tickets. I don't know. But maybe because we got e-tickets, they're going to send us some updated ones once somebody gives them money. I don't know.
That's coming up. By the way, just real quick, one thing, because we were talking about this before, so before I forget. So it's Russia coming up. We were talking about if conditions are right, it's probably going to be Mercedes. But
they need 2 more in a row to break that record.
Then it's Spain. So that's where it could come tricky because...
And that's where they kicked ass in practice.
Right.
They did the most kilometers of all time, and they drove
but it seems,
a quarter of the way around the Earth.
Yeah, but if the teams have shown some reliability, I think it's gonna be fine. But Red Bull. We're talking about this. Red Bull might be a threat in Spain.
It'll be interesting before that race when we do this podcast. We got to remember to look at how Red Bull performed in testing this year,
right
before the Spanish Grand Prix. And
they did some laps, not a ton, but
Was there a Spanish Grand Prix when you were there?
When? What do you mean? When I lived in Spain?
Yeah.
There were 2 actually.
Did you go to them?
No.
Oh.
I know, right? Plans kept
Such a
falling.
piece of shit.
I know. Plans kept falling through, man. I kept wanting to go.
Yeah.
I had everything lined up, and 2 years in a row, something popped up in the end, and I just couldn't do it. I was in school too, so like I think that played a part, obviously.
Sorry.
But there was also a
My
Valencia.
girlfriend just got locked out.
Do you need my credit card?
No, we're good.
Another takeaway from the Chinese Grand Prix that we sort of
Chinese takeaway.
the Chinese takeaway is seen in just the weird situation that Renault find themselves in right now, whereby remember when we thought about this, like, wouldn't it be funny if like halfway through the year Red Bull was kicking ass, but the Renault works team wasn't doing as good with the same engine, and it happened sooner than I thought it would.
But they're not the same engine. You're forgetting.
Oh yes,
It's a tag Heuer. So nobody's ego will be hurt.
This may or may not have something to say. I've heard this also mentioned in other places in the press and whatever, that it is as we theorized. There is a possibility that Mario Alien is like working more closely with Red Bull than he is with Renault, and
See,
and maybe some of the gains in the performance of the Tag Heuer engine, or for it to be able to like put the cars. Listen, the cars
See?
were up there because of their cornering and their aerodynamics, but they wouldn't have gotten there without a good engine.
I haven't seen any articles about this, and maybe we can do a little research into the technical rules of what constitutes the power unit in the end. And maybe they're allowed to work on stuff like the exhaust geometry and cooling. Like if they can get an extra 10% cooling, that's more. You can get more power out of an engine if you can cool it. You can keep it cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
The shape of the exhaust, the aerodynamics, even like inside the exhaust pipes, how that works with the turbo, because they can't change stuff like the MGUH and K,
Right.
the turbines itself. Like you can't change those geometries, as far as I know. You can't change, the piston head. Valve shapes or
cost tokens, right? That all cost tokens.
I know, but that Tag Heuer
Yeah.
in the rules, certain parts of it is still a Renault, even though they call it something else, right?
Right. No, yes.
They don't. That's we figured that out a couple episodes ago. That Tag Heuer Red Bull don't have a separate 30-some tokens to Renault, right?
It's the Renault,
Right.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that
they
must
work.
fall outside the tokens that they can gain power with.
They didn't build that huge facility in their factory to work on engines for no reason.
The rolling road, right?
Yeah.
The rolling road wind tunnel.
They have more than that. They have like machining tools, and like they have stuff to like work on like building bits for an engine. They have that capacity. And
Red Bull itself.
Red Bull themselves in their factory in Milton Keynes.
Because don't forget that Red Bull also participates in WEC and a whole bunch of other racing, airplane racing,
Right.
all kinds of stunt shows that they're building power units for, and different types of engines.
The
and
Red Bull
aerodynamics.
Technology Group is involved in much more than just F1 for sure.
Red Bull as
They
a drinks company is involved in entertainment big time.
Yeah. Well, they want to the next America's Cup, like that boat is gonna build whatever Challenger for Britain is gonna be built partially.
The
by
sailing races, right?
Yeah.
Sailing races. They're doing like downhill mountain bikes. They're designing bicycle, like everything.
Monsters.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is cool what they're doing. Red Bull.
And that is also, I mean, because they're involved in so much of that stuff, and a lot of that technology, like the research is trickling down from F1.
Possibly reviving their F1 circuit to full glory.
That's why it's feels hollow and unfounded every time that they threaten to quit the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have too much invested in it. There's one thing that I read specifically in Joe Sayward's blog recently about how the weird, like, China is weird. Okay, so they always show like the paddock area where like the teams are, and how each team gets like one of those like houses that's floating on stilts on top of the river and whatever. And apparently, what happens is that the way that they built it, and like they built it to like, you know,
Feng Shui design.
yeah, all Feng Shui design and all that, and like with bridges and lots of nature and whatever. But that fact alone, and because like each team's like what would be equivalent of like their motorhomes in Europe, their little base is so separated from everything else that it's actually not a good environment for doing business. We're doing the business of F1. And one of the proposed changes for China in the coming years apparently is going to be to try to like kind of shut off a few of those houses and bring everybody kind of closer to the front. Like everybody, yeah.
That's not Feng Shui.
Yeah.
The whole point is to relax.
I know.
Feng Shui is a design philosophy that you specify like how far things are from each other and keep a comfortable space around you. And
well, yeah, but that's apparently they figure, or Bernie.
Whose idea was that?
Probably
Bernie.
Yeah. People aren't wheeling and dealing enough. Let's huddle them up. So yeah, part of their new deal for
China spent almost $500 million on that circuit.
I know.
A huge part of it was
Ted's notebook really enlightened us onto it just seemed that he was like lost the entire time. He's like, I don't know where I am. And he just like wandered about, meandering about.
Yeah, just hoping to find somebody. Yeah.
Oh, hey, you want to talk? It's like just some like random Chinese dude.
It's always a bit absent-minded, especially on camera.
It's apparently like really, really hard to do your job as a journalist up there too, because if you're gonna like, it's a lot easier in Europe because you can just see it down the paddock and like see like who's there. Okay, that person's going to that building. I'm gonna go and catch it there. But in China, because it's all a big maze of like bridges and whatever, you don't get to see that. So like following a story and chasing a story down in China is apparently pretty hard.
Good.
Yeah.
It looks and sounds beautiful to be there.
Yeah.
It's something different.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Bernie Ecclestone is dumb.
Fact.
It's getting a bit of a higher profile, and one thing that I wanted to, just one more thing that I wanted to bring up. Apparently, Renault, as part of the things that they did, because they also want to like, all the car manufacturers are interested in going to China, right? Like China's a huge market. Mm-hmm. They hadn't, for some reason, this hadn't happened before, that there was like a true like celebrity or whatever at the track in China, because it's so far away and whatever. The many reasons behind it. Mm-hmm. It's usually not a very like VIP studded event, but it kind of was this year. Like you saw big shooters like Jean Todt was there, Marchionne was there.
Marchionne, yeah.
But one of the things that Renault did is apparently they invited the biggest, and this is like the biggest celebrity in China is this girl, and I had never heard of her. Never. Fan Bing Bing. Pull up a picture. Like,
what was her name again?
Fan Bing Bing.
Oh right.
Oh, that's who you were talking about before.
Right? Like it sounds made up.
Pretty, man.
That's what I'm saying. Look at get a load of this chick. Like, so yeah, they had her like there, like taking pictures with. Look at this.
She was in Iron Man 3.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Shaving.
She's
very pretty.
This girl is very, very pretty. She is apparently the fourth
highest paid actress in Hollywood?
In the world.
What? In the world?
In the world.
What?
In the world.
I've never heard of her.
Yeah, right?
Let's check the wiki.
What? Like
she's big news. No, she's huge in China.
In the last like 20 years, as far as like the West goes, like North America and Europe, there's been maybe 5 Chinese movies that have made it here. China, as far as like cinema, they do a lot of stuff really good, but cinema,
X-Men. Wow,
I don't know really anything about Chinese cinema. But if you think like India, one of the first things you think of is
remember that
cinema.
movie Ip Man? We watched that movie Ip Man that Doug showed us back at. You remember? Like,
Yeah, I've seen a handful, like the
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger series. Yeah, Ip Man. But I mean, but in the past like decade or two, there's been maybe 5 Chinese movies.
Yeah, they never seem to break it in the same way. I mean,
It's
like,
a
apparently
handful of Chinese.
Bollywood
actors.
is like getting like more and more popular in the West, but that's probably among people that like Bollywood already.
Like almost
Yeah,
like
there's,
they're
like,
getting
1.3
into it
billion
ironically.
Indian dudes. Yeah,
I could never get into Bollywood.
I've tried. Screwing in a light bulb. Used to be like City TV in Toronto. Used to play Sunday mornings Bollywood, and a shitload of Indian music. Their music video scene is bigger than like MTV and Much Music.
Oh, yeah.
It's gigantic. And every music video of Indian pop music, Indian rock, or their traditional music, there's like between 20 and 100 people dancing in synchronicity. They're all dancing together.
Jesus.
Like,
Wait, how-
and it's always
how
like
do-
a
how do we-
helicopter
how do we get
shots
into
of like
this again?
100 guys
Oh,
on stairs.
We're checking this
Bing,
one.
Fan
this
bing
one.
bing.
But
So she came to the race and everybody was went crazy.
well, no, it's just it's another testament of like the growing popularity of F1 in China, and I think it's gonna be one of those Grand Prix that it's eventually gonna they're eventually gonna come and like open up those grandstands that are now just ads, like that big banner, like that huge place that's always empty and just has like that big banner. I'm pretty sure they're gonna open it up again, and that's
Do you know what
things
that
are
ad
looking
was?
good.
Did you look it up? What that ad was?
For what? No.
That big.
No, I don't know what it was for.
I don't
Like,
actually
probably
know.
like Chinese oil company or something, like just
Yeah, it's something
something
Chinese.
state
Just
owned.
curious what it was.
Something state. Oh.
In 2003, Fan Bing Bing started in the Chinese movie Cell Phone, the biggest Chinese movie of the year.
Jesus.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me either.
And she's also a pop singer, so there you go. She does it all.
Yeah, she's a triple threat. All right.
Watch out.
I'll be right back.
No. We'll be right back, guys.
Before we get into this thing about the Ferrari and all everything surround that juicy politics of F1.
Relaxing of their muscles.
We were talking about this when we saw him, and we were wondering about these for a little while. And I got the lowdown thanks to Joe Sayward's blog. Hit that Mercedes Vision link. So you remember when we first saw him at the beginning of the year, the augmented reality glasses.
Yes.
There you go. So I guess Mercedes this time around, they actually had Joe Sayward try it on theirs. There's Joe Sayward right there.
Oh, they invited him in.
Yeah, they invited him in actually with a few other journalists. So there he is.
Wow.
That's his silly little mug. So what are these things? what
Is that
what
the Microsoft glasses or no?
No, actually,
It looks similar.
they are Epson.
Epson.
And we remember Epson from our printers as in our childhood, right? And I didn't think that they did anything really these days. But what apparently they're focusing on, and these things, they're more than just augmented reality glasses in the sense that it puts a picture, because it does do that. They are like, you see like extra information on stuff just floating around in the air. Cool. Go down. It like there's a simulation there of like kind of how it looks.
Oh, neat.
Right? And like like it starts. So that is one of the things that they use it for. So they there's like videos that you can like select. But the thing is, and these are really cool because it has eyeball tracking devices that like so you can like kind of like make your selection, and it goes with where you're looking. They're really super cool. And the way that they like how they're using it right now, it's clearly like not like using these to the full extent. They just obviously something new. They're trying it out. But so they have like little videos on how like things work. They have little videos that like are basically like the team personnel like explaining like, oh, this is it, or there, and they also have like. You can turn it on like so that it shows you like who's who in the garage.
This is where life is going.
Yeah.
All of life is going to be augmented.
No, but yeah, imagine like
augmented reality.
I'm wearing like my augmented reality glasses, and like these would, because they have the eye tracking devices in them. This is what they can do. Like you can like be looking and like turn on the feature where it shows you like who's who in the paddock, and like right now, like if I was wearing them, like it could be, an arrow pointing.
Facial recognition.
Yeah, like
that's Mike Schmidt.
That's Mike
on top of your
Schmidt.
head.
That's there's Daddy, and like this is what he does.
What? This is his Twitter. This is his Instagram.
Here's your birthday. Here's a click here. Look at his let's scroll through his pictures.
Here's the thing.
See
though,
his memories.
even though there is a lot of room for development of this technology, like for consumer use.
In 2 or 3
right?
years, it's gonna be like, "Where's your glasses, man? How come?
But
How are you gonna get cheaper pizza deals and stuff?"
listen, what like Epson, because I mean, yes, they're aware of the consumer market possibilities of these glasses for sure, but they're actually really
Lewis
interested in the business side of it. In these glasses, like what they basically are like gearing up to do is like. And they're already using it like this for like their technicians on the field, apparently, where these glasses and like you open up something like whatever, like something Epson made, and fucking open it up with your augmented reality glasses, starts pointing out like all the parts and like how they interact. So to basically get to a point where like you're being fed information from like somebody that either knows more or like from a computer, and it'll tell you like this is how that piece goes with that piece. They're eventually gonna look into maybe even getting the mechanics, right? So the mechanics to be like, kind of like foot soldiers that would be like open up the F1 car, look with the reality like with those glasses, and back in Brackley, back at base, an engineer would tell him, "Oh, listen, this is what's wrong. Like you're here, just
earpiece.
like just turn it a little bit that way."
We were talking
this
just before the
insane,
show.
man. We're talking about like
This
next
Canon
level
camera
shit.
is broken. You can see the lens of my Canon camera here is stuck out.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like that. If I could log into my Canon account and fix this camera because the lens is stuck. Yeah, that's where the shit is going.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that, so that's the kind of that's what Epson hopes to get out of this.
Open it and
for sure.
Oh, this part is stuck right here.
But obviously, they're aware of the consumer market possibilities, and like watching a race with this kind of, and just having graphics, because they also have that. So that like one of the options that you can have right now with the Mercedes thing is that you can see like just live information from like I guess the timing and whatever.
And imagine there's no rules in the F1 technical regulations right now that they could project this information onto Lewis and Nico's
the driver themselves.
Lewis and Nico's visors.
Yeah.
And they can be driving and be like,
yeah.
have a graphic while they're driving floating above Vettel's car. He's on the softs right now. He's been out 15 laps. He's gonna pit soon, and then like, oh, his tires are fogged. Instead of the team telling you like the car in front of you pits 15 laps ago. Like they're not allowed to even say that stuff anymore.
Wow.
Like maybe the next level of onboard video is gonna be like for you to see the onboard on TV, but then you put your glasses and you can see what the driver is seeing on the HUD. How cool is that?
You know that's the way it's going, because
so much
Red Bull was threatening at the start of this season after the first race.
Yeah.
There was all these restrictions about what you can say on the radio. Red Bull's like, all right, well, we'll just use the screen on the steering wheel to send text messages to our drivers, and that's going to be more dangerous because they're going to have to read it while they're driving. Why don't you just let us tell them in their ear what this info? And then they made like, okay, now you can say these 30 things. So these 30 specific sentences are allowed.
It's
shit is cool though.
It is cool, and another cool thing, like it's been with the development, with everywhere, everything is moving. That you have your own like Oculus thing almost arriving soon, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
within the month.
You get the HTC vibe, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. We were talking to Perry, that guy. Hey Perry, if you're listening, he plays racing games with his virtual reality set.
He's got the Oculus, the developer's kit, I think.
Yeah. So really interesting. Lots of future there for everything. Another thing that
so exciting,
right? Another thing
Can
that apparently
I throw this on?
Yeah.
Just put it there in the background. So another thing that that is happening that also like gives me a lot of hope for the near to midterm future is the fact that FOM is actually going to start using TV drones as early as this year, as early as the Italian Grand Prix.
Wow.
Yeah, that's gonna give us some great shots.
Oh my God, yes. So somebody was, or maybe I saw an article. I saw some kind of discussion about this past weekend about why is the FOM still using helicopters?
Yeah,
This is dangerous.
it's so stupid. It's like you have to pay this person a huge salary, ship him around the world because they have
like
one
one
guy.
guy.
They have one guy that has the necessary skills to like pilot the airplane like in a certain way and get so close. Yeah, it's just one guy. What if he's sick? What if he's sick?
If anyone that's never seen it, there was a segment I think maybe 2 years ago of Brundle. They did a segment with the F1 FOM helicopter pilot, and I believe Brundle himself is a helicopter pilot.
Yes.
And during the segment, he's sitting in the back, and they talk about how there's one guy in the front, he drives the camera, one guy drives the helicopter. Brundle's like, you're doing everything I was trained not to do when I got my license.
Yeah.
You don't pitch the helicopter that steep. You don't turn like this. You don't put that much yaw.
That guy's basically like a stunt driver, but of helicopters.
Right. I'd rather just
And
pay
it's
like
dangerous.
some 17-year-old kid hopped up on Red Bull just to fly a drone around a track.
For the next year or two until we can make autonomous drones, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But like it's only for what, an hour and a half the race, like
No,
2 hours.
The technical challenge of it is actually achievable in today's
The battery life
terms. This is not
works.
even. We're talking about this like as if it was this big future thing, but no, this is all achievable right now. The question should be,
Helicopters are so
why isn't
expensive.
that being done today? But I'm glad that things are moving, man. Things
They're
are
rolling out.
moving.
Sky and
There is-
FOM is going to 4K next year, UHD.
and this kind of
Not that I'm going to buy a new television.
this sort of can bring us to like what we were like really meaning to talk about in this segment, and it's that you can tell there's a change of mood and a change of heart in FOM in the way that like they're approaching their new technologies, and apparently there's a lot more to come in
Thank God.
yeah, there's a lot more to come in the plans down the pipeline. Probably not as high priority as the political infighting and the bullshit that Bernie playing politics, but there is stuff down the pipeline. More social media engagement, more internet engagement. There's gonna be more options. Even obviously, like what they're building up is to put all this stuff behind a paywall. But even if it's behind a paywall, we should welcome it. We should welcome this new change of attitude. But now there's the fact that what may be happening is that they're kind of trying to hedge their bets because there's been too much into question. And I like to refer back to the early days of the internet, right? Remember, like, when everything was new and everything was untapped, all kinds of low-hanging fruit around.
Excuse me.
And one of the first things that really like became like a battle at the beginning was for search engine domination, right?
Oh yeah.
And you had big names like Yahoo. Do you remember Alta Vista?
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
like all
Ask
those
Jeeves?
Ask Jeeves was one. There was like at one point there was like one that was like Mama, and what Mama was is a search engine off search engine. So like it would feed you. You put in a term and it would feed you like results from like all together side by side, Alta Vista, Yahoo, whatever. There was all kinds of things like that, right? All kinds of innovation that happened in that field.
Go.
But at one point, all of those companies that are still not, or that are not around today, or the ones that are around today, they're not search engine companies, like i.e. Yahoo. The only one that we use right now, let's be honest, is Google. And there's a reason for that. It's because as soon as these Alta Vista and whatever companies started making money, what they focus on is on building portals or like making their homepage more accessible for advertising and things like that. Like getting news feeds like NBC, like MSN homepage. But what they all forgot, and why Google triumphed, it was their core product, which was building a good search engine.
Their own search.
Yeah, their own good search. Yeah. And that's why Google now is the king of search, is because what they focused from the very beginning was not to build a flashy homepage. It wasn't like people.
It's still, if you look right now, it says Google with a box, and that's it.
And
they sign in the corner,
and search is still their top priority, and extracting as much and making the algorithms more predictive, like making all the information on the internet. Basically, they focus on their core product, right? Their core product was search. That's what they focus on. That's why they triumphed. There needs to be more of that attitude with Bernie. There needs to be more of that attitude with FOM. They need to focus, instead of all this political bullshit, they need to focus on their product, which is F1, which doesn't really need that much fixing. What needs to be fixed is the attitude of trying to approach the fixing of F1 by muddling with politics and all the qualifying formats and all the bullshit that it's not needed. If they did more, let's say more drones, more 360 videos, more engagement with bringing the product that is F1 out to the fans, if they really focus all of their energy as opposed to just a little bit of their energy on doing that, they would be more successful. Do that, put the product out there, put it out on the internet, and then figure out how to make money with that. That's Google's basically motto. Mm-hmm. Just put it out there on the internet, then figure out how to make money. This is what's happening. We keep talking about. I mean, I know that we don't want to make that big of a deal about the other series because this is primarily an F1 podcast. But we talk about MotoGP. We talk about Formula E, just outside of the podcast, because they're doing the right things. They're putting their product out there.
MotoGP.
They're having guys jumping over the car. Where's that clip?
Yeah, throw that up. From this morning, Formula E. This dude did a backflip over the Formula E car at full speed. Whoop! Right there. Damian Walters. I believe he's a European dude. He's a famous free runner.
Scroll to pass all this advertising nonsense. Yeah, let's get to this nitty gritty here. There you go.
There he goes. He did this more than once.
Yeah.
At speed. So he did that one for practice.
And then there was a real one, for sure. Anyway, but doing all this stuff to promote the sport, to promote the core product, Formula E is doing it, and it's working for them.
There it is.
It's getting us. Look, it's getting us talking and showing this stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're talking about it. I don't think. Honestly, I'm gonna throw what may be an unpopular opinion. I don't think Formula E is the future. I don't.
They're never gonna overtake F1 popularity, but Formula E is badass.
They're doing the right things.
And Robo Race, I'm down, man. I've been watching the Formula E races. I haven't seen the last two, but I've seen all the rest.
We talked about it during the China Grand Prix, during the race on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was what was it?
Their day will come when one of their Formula E races lines up as an opener for the Formula 1 Grand Prix at the same circuit.
They don't want to do that, though.
Yeah, they don't want to.
Bernie won't allow that, number one.
Bernie wouldn't allow that. But it could happen. You see, Bernie might not be around too long.
You know, that would be amazing. That would be amazing if there was a Grand Prix weekend where you can have knock both of those down and have instant action all weekend throughout. Have the Formula E race, and you know how they can pack all their shit in one day, right? On a Saturday.
Yes.
So have the Saturday be so packed, qualifying for Formula E race, then qualifying for Formula 1, then the E Prix. That would be amazing. That would be sweet.
And then a country music concert.
I know, Danny, you talk about UFC quite often, and during that China Grand Prix race, you were saying that they got hashtags everywhere. but that's not allowed in Formula One at all.
Well, I mean,
we talked about 2 weeks ago.
They try to promote their one hashtag. So for each race, like they say, like join the conversation hashtag Chinese Grand Prix or China. Oh yeah,
that could be just even Sky though.
No, that is FOM.
That's FOM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about 2 weeks ago. Lewis at Bahrain at the race, he got shit from Bernie for taking Instagram pictures and Snapchatting
the wrong approach
at the race. That's what he's on ESPN today saying that he is the biggest promoter of F1. But yeah, this on Saturday night, there was a UFC event. Not even a pay-per-view. There's no championship fight, just like almost like the Formula E event of the UFC type. It was like a lower event, but the whole night they're showing between matchups. They're showing in the locker room. Yeah. Here's the guy's Twitter tag. Check out this hashtag right there. Hashtag F Formula E Leap of Faith for that backflip right there. But during the live event, they're showing pictures of in like the paddock. I don't know, all that stuff. They're promoting it. I bet you if I'm not a big Twitterer, I'm not a big tweeter, but I bet you during that night if you had looked up those fighters' Twitter accounts, you'd see them each tweeting like we do before we do a podcast. We tweet like, hey, we're about to podcast, we're getting ready. Yeah. They're going to show themselves in the back, getting ready, stretching or whatever. But these guys aren't allowed. They can't say, I'm getting ready for the race, I'm having a stretch.
Look at me periscoping. You can't do that.
It's the same thing. And I bet you if you go to a basketball or baseball or hockey as well.
Hockey even.
Your favorite player, you're watching whatever team game. If you go to your favorite player's Twitter account, he probably took a picture of himself and said, hey, we're getting ready to play whoever tonight. Yeah. I'm in the locker room. Here we go.
You're not going to get
yelled at
maybe,
for doing that.
Maybe some players do, but the point is that, yes, they're not getting told not to.
They're not getting yelled at. They don't have to. You don't expect all drivers to do it. Point. But Lewis is the type of guy that likes to do that.
Yeah.
Why not, man?
There's definitely a lot
tell
of...
him not to.
And
Rosberg is clearly taking some inspiration from Lewis.
I made a point earlier about how controlling the sport is exactly what you don't want to do, like over controlling and over regulating. But that's there. It just may be a problem that the people currently in charge, just in their being, they just don't know any other way. It may be psychosomatic. It may be built into them that they just can't see that as a possibility. That they're, it's like those people that like make all kinds of like weird mental acrobatics to like justify their position. And will never back down on like some core principles.
Right.
And now we have word from one of the most, what I would say,
this guy's face, man.
Yeah.
He just looks like a fucking asshole.
He looks like a dirty jerk, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's miserable. It's fucking miserable.
And now there's word from one of the most, what I would say, reputable F1 publications out there that exists, and one of the most respected F1 journalists out there talking about the very real possibility that the manufacturers have just had it with Bernie. They're just
Are you talking about Herr Michael Schmidt?
Herr Michael Schmidt.
Automotor und Sport?
Yes. not
my brother from another mother.
You may be related way back.
Yeah. There's probably a chance.
It's very likely. You're related to the same Schmidts.
The Schmidt clan of Stuttgart rummaging around for fruit. one of your early ancestors was there.
Wild boars.
Yeah, that's that and such.
And such.
Hairless bears.
Wait, Schmidt. That's like Smith, right?
Yeah.
A blacksmith building. Yeah. Getting some horseshoes.
Shit. Yeah, exactly.
But so you want to expand a little bit more on that, because I know that you read it maybe a little bit more than me. I was just excited to see that headline, honestly.
Well, the article was.
It's I don't know, it's everywhere. This is from out of that German magazine, Automotor and Sport.
Oh yeah, right.
We talked about it, how like the manufacturers want to get rid of Bernie.
the article was a bit vague to begin with, and I tried reading it in the Google translated English version. It was originally written in German. I don't speak German that well, but well enough I could skim through it, kind of. But it's kind of Ferrari, led by Marchionne,
Of course. Yeah.
leading the rest of the teams,
Yeah.
is sort of leading a drive to get rid of Bernie, to provoke CVC, to get them convinced that he's not the right guy to be leading your business, and we should get rid of him. This article here, I just want to read this headline because it's from about 2 hours ago. Vladimir Putin should be in charge of Europe, says Bernie Ecclestone.
But he said that before.
He said it before, but he said it again. And he said immigrants have done nothing for the United Kingdom and that Donald Trump would make a fantastic U.S. president. In the same interview, he also said women drivers in Formula One would not be taken seriously.
I was just about to bring that up.
This all came from the same interview this afternoon.
Yeah.
A bunch of retarded comments, not making... Yeah, right. There he is right there doing a live interview.
I don't know. This
A
is
whole bunch of retarded
he's trying to
The wrong
appease the
attitude.
1970s fan.
No, not even. Well, oh yeah, right, fine.
Right,
The 1970s, when he took control of F1, he's trying to he that's all he knows.
Yeah.
That's all he can. He can't know any. He can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's the same thing.
He doesn't know what
The
Counter-Strike
world-
is.
The world has moved on past this, and this is all the only thing that is holding all these like current schemes in place that don't make sense to the modern generations is people like him. Is people like him in every single facet of society. Whenever you like run into either too much red tape or like too much bullshit from somebody in power, you can trace it back to some asshole like this with gray hair that's just cannot move with the times because they don't know how to operate. He doesn't. If his game was notably, like people have been saying that like he sees each deal that he makes. He's not a guy that he's not in it that much. I mean, from everything that I've read and like that you can see is that he's not in it that much to like he doesn't have a goal like I want to be a billionaire. No, he just sees every deal that he makes as an opportunity to like kind of screw somebody over and the price that he gets, his monetary benefit is just sort of like his way to keep score. Oh, yo, out of this deal, I made $100 million, so that must have been a good deal.
Fuck yourself. What is his deal, man? He's 85 years old. Has hundreds of millions of dollars free, like liquid.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything with.
Oh, I mean, no. He's. Let me tell you what he's doing. He's doing it. He's giving it to his daughters, for them to like spend needlessly on like mansions in London.
But he's if I can't picture that for myself. If I had that much money, good or bad, you got to do something with that money. Do something with it.
No, and
get something done.
No, exactly. His legacy is gonna amount to nothing. And I think that maybe that's why people.
Yeah, people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, he was like a big F1 guy." Well,
yeah,
that's
people
what
cited
people say when he
behind him.
dies.
But people cited with him before because, and I think he thinks this still to this day that his interests are the sports interests because he's always keeping the sport as top priority, but because he knows that is because he's aware of like the hand that feeds. The hand that feeds is a sport, and what he says must be in the sport's best interest because he's the one guy that the sport really depends on, and like his activities are like really like what the sport makes the money of. So he thinks that no matter what the craziest ideas that could come to his head, he must still be right in the end because how could he not be right? He's Bernie Ecclestone. He's obviously has to have the sports best interest in mind. That is looking like a weaker argument, like by the second.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah.
second, it's
Yeah.
looking like that argument is losing and losing credibility. And maybe the problem is that he was on way too long of a winning streak before.
Yeah.
But it was maybe that he was riding the wave of globalization of TV in general. It wasn't just his sport. It wasn't
Right.
just F1 that got popular
Because
around
every
the world.
every sport
Sport
got more popular around the world.
Exactly. Every single sport got more viewers as television
Yeah.
coverage became bigger. That is just what happened. And now when we're actually faced in today's day and age, when there is a real challenge to the way that sports is broadcasted, and really if you do your research and really do your research, anybody that wants to look into this, the only thing that's propping up cable companies right now, because there's so many people cutting the cord, there's so many alternatives, the
Yeah.
only thing that's propping up cable companies right now is live broadcasts.
Yeah.
Because TV, it just so
it.
happens that right now it is maybe in the best spot for like sports because of many things, but there is a genuine challenge even to that, coming from the new media, coming from the internet,
Absolutely.
coming from VR, coming from that, and he doesn't know how that world works.
No, you can't.
So he has to do his best to try to keep it the old way, because that's how he knows how to make
Did
money.
I tell you? So I got my new phone. I switched from the Windows phone to the Samsung.
Oh, shit.
And when I did that, they're like, "Listen, in order for you to get this upgrade, you have to get this new package." So like I'm paying like an extra $10 a month essentially for this phone.
Should have told them to go fuck themselves.
I tried to, but then they gave me a really sweet deal on my phone. It doesn't matter. But they gave me the NHL package, which was like this pseudo subscription thing, but I got it for free for a year. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot. I was like, all right, there's a game on tonight. It's a home game. Let me check it out. Oh shit, it's not on. I can't watch it.
Why?
Because of their legislation. It's
Yeah.
because of their bullshit. It's
People
because
like
of people
that.
like this
Yeah.
that these are happening. Like, there's
Yeah.
all deals between companies
Yeah.
and sports teams and all that kind of shit. So I was like, well, I'm just going to watch it illegally.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly. You did nothing. You did
You
zero.
did nothing.
Yeah.
Like, have all the games or have none of them. Like, because it's one of these things. Like, they'll do, like, all the away games. I was like, that's half the game. That's half the fucking games. Like,
Yeah.
eat shit. Like, I'm gonna watch it illegally because you can't do a good job of bringing it to me legally.
And I want to make something perfectly clear. We are not in any way, shape, or form condoning or promoting any illegal activity, because doing so would be illegal.
It would
but
be.
what we're doing here is reporting on the reality of broadcast television right now, and this is it. There are options out there. Anybody, and I commend you. Please, this is one of the things that we can do as fans, as the people out there, to push the balance more in the right direction, to bring the focus more into like online means. Do what you were forced to do, basically.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have cable. I'm not gonna pay for it. I have the internet connection, so I'm gonna use it.
Yeah.
So I did it.
Use what there is, and it's never been easier out there to access all this content.
Okay, this sort of brings me to like a cool point,
Okay.
which is, so pirating is a really interesting concept because it's obviously an older term called coming from pirates, right? Stealing shit and then just using it or selling it or whatever.
Right.
But pirating in the 21st century is much different when it comes to a computer, right? So you remember, like, maybe I don't know, I'm not sure if you were in Canada at the time, but like when I was a kid, like you could just like torrent something and you're like, oh, sick, I got it.
Oh, that's the beauty of it, man.
Because-
That also happened in Colombia.
Absolutely.
That happened everywhere with an internet connection.
But because the product was so expensive, like stupidly expensive, you know, like I'm not paying that much for this because there's other software. It might be a little shittier, but it's free.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll use it. Yeah. So what did companies do instead? They like unveiled this this monthly plan. It's like pay $20 a month.
Yeah.
You get it. So I got, for instance, the Adobe method of doing this,
Yeah,
right?
let's
I pay
think about it.
$25, $30 a month and I get the whole suite.
Right.
brilliant. I'm not gonna pay a fucking grand up front.
Yeah,
Like,
nobody's ready to do that.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
So like the mentality changed as soon as piracy came up.
So
right?
Adobe's an interesting example because they were stuck with a product where you basically need to charge people because the amount of research and the amount the infrastructure that goes.
They did buy a lot of their products from other companies.
Yeah, but you still need to have you need to employ a vast amount of people with very specific skill sets to make something like Photoshop, like a design, like other shit. Yes, they bought it, but by buying it, that means that they actually brought the people that made it into their fold because they know that like to make those kind of successful products, you need to employ a lot of people. So they were basically stuck with a product that there's no other way around it to make it to the same quality level, like to keep it up, to keep the Adobe products being the industry standards in their respective fields. You have to charge. There's no way around. Like it costs money. It costs money.
Right.
It's gonna cost money no matter what to produce something like that. So they're locked with their core business was this thing that you have to charge people for.
Yeah.
So what do they do instead of all their products? They saw it. They saw the trends. They tried for a long time to make it really, really, really difficult to pirate. Yeah. But what they don't realize is that there's always going to be somebody smarter.
Yeah.
On the internet, there's always going to be somebody that knows how to crack it. And what happened? Without fail, every single year that they came up with like a better solution, their product got cracked in like at most months.
Yeah.
At least days. Right?
What were we talking about on Sunday? Like the TV cable box filters and
no, yeah.
My aunt having one of those descrambler boxes from the 90s. Remember those?
Yeah.
When the pay-per-view channels used to be like Movie Network used to be
all wavy and shit.
But TV is different because TV hasn't moved. Like to stick with the Adobe example, Adobe and then realize, you know what?
We can't fight it.
Like we can't fight it.
Yeah.
Let's move with the times.
Yeah.
And how brilliant was that move?
And super smart.
Yeah.
And I really wish it's not gonna happen with him. It just won't.
So
it just will not.
So then we're faced with an option right now in F1 where he needs to go.
Yeah.
Like because he's not dying.
Get rid of him.
Like maybe people were thinking like, Jesus, if we hold on for long enough, he's gonna die, and then we can make a move.
I'm convinced he's half a robot.
Yeah. So he's not gonna die.
Told you, my grandma died at 104 like 2 years ago.
Yeah, we can't afford that.
So if this guy seems just as healthy, he's got another 20 years. He could have another 20 years.
Exactly.
She lived by herself in a giant house, walking to the grocery store until she was 103.
So, and I think that reality has sunk to everybody by now. That it could just be that he could continue on living for another 20 years, and the sport cannot afford to have him at the top making these stupid decisions for any longer. And Sergio Marchionne has taken it upon him to liberate the sport of Bernie Ecclestone. Now
but we watched that interview with him. And that was weird.
Yes.
Right?
He's an intense dude.
He's
a
dude.
passively intense dude.
Passively aggressive, intense dude.
Yeah.
Like
you
there
can
was
see
some
it on his face
weird
even.
shit that he was. I was like,
Listen, he wasn't pleased, and he wasn't.
Dude,
he wasn't worried about making that very publicly acknowledgeable. Like he was like, I'm pissed about this, and I'm cool with you knowing that.
I'm okay, but just realize I'm fucking livid on the inside.
He's made some demands. I couldn't find the headline now or his quote, but he said the team, we must beat Mercedes very soon. Like we must.
Like it has to happen this year.
We have to beat them
has to happen
now.
This year.
Their last championship was 2008. The last time they won a race was last year. Or was that in Malaysia? Vettel won last year, right? Malaysia?
Yeah.
It's been almost a full year, 2008, for a championship.
Listen, but everybody knows him. Or actually, the British media call him the jumpered assassin, and like I guess because they call sweaters jumpers. It's silly British people, but so the sweatered assassin is because he's that kind of an operator that in all of his business dealings, he gets shit done no matter what. Like no matter what it takes. Like we're getting like if when he took over leadership of Fiat, because that's that was sort of his role. So when he came to Fiat, he went to Turin, where the old Fiat head offices used to be, and he saw that for the things weren't moving fast enough because you had these managers that they all had secretaries in this day and age. Like there's a lot of like offices obviously don't operate like they used to in the 50s. Like like even chief executives like don't necessarily have to have they might have like an executive assistant, but they don't have a secretary. These guys had like these managers, like even low level managers, each one has their own big office with a secretary. And for them, like for one big manager to like pass a message to the other big manager, they basically like got their secretary to talk to the other secretary, and then eventually the message made it to the other guy.
Right.
Shit.
Too many steps.
Did not move. And as soon as Sergio Marchionne like went there, he saw, okay, this is what's happening. You are gone.
Yeah.
Like that's yeah. He didn't have like he has no patience for shit that doesn't work. So he's like, that doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. I know a million people that could do your job. Gone. You're bye. Like tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Right now. Go. Like get out of my sight. And that's how he restructured Fiat and brought Fiat back from the red, back from not generating money to be in a solid an Italian, an old European car manufacturer, to bring it back from like near death to be able to like hold its own ground and be in a position to basically buy out Chrysler, one of the biggest car makers in the world. Join them together. He touches things that are considered sacred cows. For example, the
It's just like
yeah. The base of Fiat forever had been Turin, and actually is built into the T for Fiat stands for Turin, Italy. And so everybody thought that was a sacred cow, and untouchable. You can't move the headquarters of from Fiat out of Turin. Same with Chrysler. They thought you can't. What do you mean running Chrysler not from Detroit? You know what he did?
Yeah.
Shut them both up, joined the company together, and now it's headquartered in London. Right?
Fuck you both.
Yeah,
and I'll do it.
So he does. He has no like. He has all the respect. But here's the other thing: he has all the respect in the world for tradition and for like how things are made. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and he moves past that. He is scheduled, basically. He's in the big plans of Fiat Chrysler. He's scheduled to retire in 2018. His retirement.
Really?
Yeah. This is part of his plan too.
Yeah,
you know, like he's 60 something. He's getting up there in the years.
Is he really?
Yeah. So he this would have been something that was his decision. He's scheduled to retire in 2018. And the notion now is that whereas at first he kind of had a dip, a dip with a toe in the F1 world. Like, as a kid, I'm sure like being Italian and all that, he must have like gotten some of that passion for Ferrari, some of that, from a very young. But let's not forget that he actually grew up, or did most of his growing up, in Canada. In English speaking Canada, which hasn't always had like a thriving F1 community, for example. So maybe his passion was a little bit when he was, but he only really got a taste of like real F1 or like being involved in F1 like after like he was a successful businessman. So when he started managing Fiat, because one of the properties that Fiat had was Ferrari, so he started to get more and more interested. And the word around town is that now, like since then till now, he actually has quite a passion for F1 and quite a passion for the history of F1, and he actually really, really likes it. So what people are saying is that maybe his next move, maybe one of the things that he wants to make sense, that in in retirement, and this is a quote that I that I saw in Joe Sayward's blog, but from somebody else, I forget who it was, is that so maybe after 2018 when he retires, maybe it's in his horizon to then come and like potentially start running F1 to
ascend to the FIA, perhaps Jean Todd's job.
To
perhaps
I don't think he wants that. I think he wants to be in charge
of F1,
in charge of like F1 as much as Bernie's in charge of F1, in charge of the commercial side of F1. To put it the same way that like this guy did it on Joe Sayward's blog, to basically play with his big F1 Scalextric set. Like that's what he's gonna be. That's what he's gonna, more for passion than many other things, because by now he has a small fortune and whatever. Like he's already successful. He has, in that sense, he doesn't have much to lose. But if he decides to then go and like make something big and powerful about like from F1, from the product that F1 is, just out of passion, he's gonna be hard to stop.
So I guess my follow-up question is: do you think that Sergio Marchionne would he sort of bring these new philosophies that you sort of endorse so much to Formula One, or do you think he would just sort of? He doesn't seem like a half-hearted kind of guy. Like he's gonna do something.
He's gonna do it full on. Yeah,
he's gonna do it full on.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could say that about Bernie Ecclestone. Right. It's more or less the direction in which he is. Do you think he can adapt to the new times?
Is he the solution?
No.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't marry to that. A lot of people, including Joe Sayward, have been kind of cheerleading, and I think to a certain degree, Michael Schmidt have been sort of endorsing the idea, and like kind of in the way that they write their articles, pushing forward to like that maybe the solution is let's let the manufacturers take full control of F1. They seem to understand like what the fans are doing. That they themselves, Mercedes is very active in social media. They seem to get it. So let's just let them do it, because they're probably in a position where they could take control of F1 and actually like do it successfully.
I think
is that the solution?
No. No. I think Marchionne could possibly do it if he separated himself completely from Ferrari. But nobody's ever going to believe that he is fully separated.
No.
And
there's too many ties with Ferrari,
too many.
Right?
Yeah, separately, it's like the interview with him from this past weekend showed, and the interview with Alonso from this past weekend showed. The manufacturers nor the drivers should be in charge of making the rules. Mm-hmm. Same as any other sport, hockey or baseball or football or fighting or whatever.
What rules? I want to present to you that the problem is not making the rules. It's actually getting rid of some of the rules that we have.
Well, that too. But that's the same thing, though.
Yeah.
The people competing should not have a say. They should show up and compete.
Yeah.
One thing I do agree with Bernie is, if you don't like the rules, you don't have to come. You don't don't show up, don't compete, whatever. This is how it is.
Yeah, but
I kind of agree with that as far as the manufacturers and drivers go.
That totally makes sense, that idea. But at the same time, like, because of, in hockey, for instance, the NHLPA, the Player Association for the National Hockey League, like, they're the ones that push like this concussion problem that this sport was sort of having. Not as bad as the NFL, but like, do you remember
safety is a different thing though than competition rules.
Right, but it's not like the league was pushing it.
Right.
It wasn't, because it was exciting still, right? Another entity had to take over and be like, listen, this is a problem, regardless if it was players. If it was player health versus how the sport is perceived from the outside world, because everyone in F1 and in their own sport on their own, they just don't understand, I think, sometimes, like, how they can influence the sport like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Safety is a little different, though. They're not going as deep as, like, your hockey blade can only be so many centimeters and reach a certain level of sharpness, and the
Right.
aerodynamics of them. You
Right.
can't put wings on your blades or 2 blades to keep your balance or stupid stuff. But as far as like something that doesn't change for everybody, thickness of your helmet or head safety,
Well, they changed rules.
thickness of your padding.
It's not the attributes of the equipment that was the problem.
You can't
it was the rules of
crush
the sport.
another man in the same way.
The example I'm
with your
thinking of
body.
is the icing. So if you ice something, whoever was closest before the net they would just drop it. They're like, no, he's got it.
Mr. Hockey fan.
Yes.
What is icing?
Icing is there's two
cross.
zones. Okay, right. It's two zones. There's Team A and Team B. So if they're in Team B's zone, right, and Team B shoots the puck all the way to the other end, and it hits sort of essentially the backboard, that's technically an icing, right?
Oh,
I think
it's so not what I was thinking.
It's when you try to shoot the puck all the way to the other end of the playing field without passing it up a lot, or carrying it there yourself.
So what was happening in those circumstances is that before the rule change, it was that 2 players from opposing teams would race for this puck, and the speed that you would build up, they would destroy each other, and concussions would sort of come out of this. And so the NHLPA would really get into this, and also like the NHL to a certain degree, because they want their players to be safe.
Right.
I mean, they do sort of endorse fighting to a certain degree because
Makes it for sport exciting.
it does to a certain,
yeah.
especially during the playoffs. Like
Yeah.
the playoffs this year are like kind of a riot. It's like these teams just fighting each other. But the idea is that like they had to change so that if two players from either team were racing for it, the ref on that side, I think it was either the linesman. There's a few different types of refs there, but they'd be like, "Nope, he's got it," before they even collided.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, and that prevents so much more. And it's great because it doesn't take away from that much
Right.
of the sport.
I think it's hard.
But
it's hard
notice
for
how
us.
I say,
It's
you know
hard.
how I said sport
Yeah.
because it's a sport.
Well, I mean,
It's defined as such, right?
yeah. But
I was talking about this last week, so got me all excited.
it's hard to find that balance. Obviously, in many sports, where regulation doesn't encroach too much, and doesn't take away from the spirit of the sport.
Or the safety.
Or the no. I'm saying regulation for safety. Or
Oh,
I'm saying
right,
like
right, right.
when regulation to seek safety doesn't take away from the sport. A lot.
But it
a
was
lot of the
an
time-
answer to an actual problem.
No, yeah.
Right,
Well, I
as,
mean-
as opposed to like introducing the halo. What problem was it solving? When was the last time a giant crash besides Alonso?
Yeah, and Alonso walked out of
Well-
it perfectly fine.
Hülkenberg's tire that flew off though this weekend. If it was the other tire, it could have hit somebody in the face.
Well, yeah, but listen, there's a balance there, and I think that balance again is super hard to find in F1.
I know.
Maybe more so than a lot of the other sports, because the more that you start regulating for things like safety, it has happened over and over in the sport already. It's not like we're just speculating here. It has happened. I mean, we are speculating, but it has happened that a change in the safety rules actually took away, like, and almost always takes away from the purity of the sport. Yes, there had to be something done, like something that needed to be done in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, because too many people were dying. There had to be a change. Like too many, you can't have like, you can't build your sport around like it just basically being like a bloodbath. You can, I mean, that's just there comes a point where like even the more committed fans like really start questioning like, why am I watching this?
Right.
If if people are dying,
You know,
But-
sorry, I'm quickly. Like hockey. As much as I want to like have that conversation between hockey and Formula One,
yeah,
like the very nature of hockey doesn't potentially kill you,
yeah,
right? Where like F1, that sheer speed alone can just destroy your body.
yeah.
And that's just not the case. Like you might have an unlucky thing where a guy gets his face slit open by a skate from another player.
Right.
Like, it's happened, right?
And fatal injuries are possible in pretty much every sport.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
I think maybe what could define something as a sport.
Yeah.
Is it the possibility of a fatal injury if you're
What is
performing
the fatality
this activity?
count of the sport?
But yes, it's true that it was higher in Formula One, but a lot has been done already, a lot to bring the sport to a place right now where, and again, I'm all about these unpopular opinions, but I think that as much as we miss him and as much as like it should be a driver for more change in the sport and whatever, the last fatality that we had in Formula One was Jules Bianchi, and he will be remembered and whatever. Like, not to take anything, like, not to come across as like insensitive about this, but that was just a fatality in the sport. The sport otherwise is already, like, I think, safe enough. Alonso walked away from his crash. It doesn't need like that's not what was the takeaway. What should have been the takeaway. The takeaway from Senna's crash is basically like all kinds of like regulations for safety that we have now, and that's fine. Like that should have been a mover. Jules Bianchi's crash, maybe not so much. That could have just been a fatality in a sport. People have died playing soccer and like they didn't like they haven't like it was
Somebody died in
freak
MMA
thing.
a week ago too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It was a freak thing.
In Ireland, yeah, Portuguese guy.
And
died.
maybe virtual safety car was one thing that was introduced to the sport that I don't find right now that has really taken away from it. And that was
It doesn't take away, it doesn't add. It's just a
it's just a
it's
thing.
just a safety feature enabled by technology.
Yeah.
which
And that's
they don't
it.
even use that often to be fair, really.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all you need, right? Like I move in that direction to make it reasonable, but
Yeah, nobody's complaining about like this is shit that ruined Formula One.
The very
virtual
idea
safety
of the
car is
sport, I
bullshit.
think, is already. That's one of the alluring parts of it because it is dangerous.
Yes,
right? It is
that's it,
fast.
and it has
And
There you go.
unfortunately,
300 something.
exactly.
It's
It's
fast,
one of the
man.
things that people are like, "Oh, I want to watch Formula One." And like, remember we were watching the race this weekend?
yeah.
And we were talking to the waitress. And they're like, "Oh, you're watching this? Like,
He's
it
like,
looks.
why are you guys here?
why
What are you guys here
and,
for?
And I told her, I was like, "Listen, I just got into the sport, and as soon as you see one of these races live, you realize how fast they are going and how dangerous it actually is. Because you fuck up, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like you could really fucking die
Yeah.
really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's almost the unfortunate thing about the sport is that when you watch it, it almost doesn't look real.
Yeah.
It almost looks like just like you're watching a game,
Right.
or like a video game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we're used to seeing now.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like I blast people on Team Fortress 2 or like whatever bullshit games. It's like it just doesn't seem real. I don't think that comes across very well. Hockey looks so much different when you watch it in real life versus on TV. It just does. It looks faster on television than it is on TV. Which is I find really, really interesting. Or sorry, live.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
I think F1 is the opposite, I think.
Yeah, totally the opposite. But that
You see
same
it live,
sort
you're
of
like, holy shit, the
difference-
car's going like 300, man.
Yeah, you just see these things going around corners. You're like, oh, I guess that's fast. But there's nothing to. There's no sense of.
You don't see it on freeways or interstates
yeah.
or the whatever
If I'm
European
going
highways.
120 on the 401 and some guy flies past me, I know how fast he's going. Way faster than me. Right?
Well, it's
there's
still like
context,
less than
right?
half of what these guys are going.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But it's context, the
Yes.
point I'm trying to get
Yeah.
across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
If you could somehow get that context, if you could show it easier.
Well, and that's a burden that FOM, that's on FOM.
Yeah.
That's what they should be focusing on, showing the beauty of the sport as us as the people that appreciate it, see it. But instead of doing that, they're focusing on capturing the sponsors on the Mercedes car.
Something I've seen a bunch of complaints online about recently is how in the last decade or so compared to the early 2000s, a lot of the camera angles have raised up, like just for whatever reason. The F1 put cameras on like zoom booms, like you'd see like those construction, like the same type of like a lift you'd use for construction
To see,
like
to see more of the advertising.
Yeah,
to see more of the sponsors. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
If you look to the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of the camera angles were at the fence level, like at the eye level, and you'd see like a corner like really low, whereas now you see like the cameras are up on lifts or a lot of helicopter shots. The angle, I don't know, the speed doesn't show the same.
You know what's funny? We were talking about this, like the 360 cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And those things are brilliant in another way now that I think about it, is that it shows context.
Yes, it does.
It does right away. You just like, oh, I'm in corner 5 right now, and I'm just holy shit. Yeah. Like, remember you guys? You
get more of a human eye field of view.
Yeah,
exactly.
Almost your same field of view you'd get if you're standing there. Your eyes can see pretty wide. Like if you're listening right now, stick your arms out, you can see them.
Yeah.
Way out to the sides.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas at the TV, you can only see so much. It's not the same.
That ratio. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Yeah, 16:9 box.
That's it.
But it's not the same angle, same viewing angle as your eyes. You don't see it the same.
I think the point that we're like really trying to get at here is that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done in this sport in terms of making the product available, like, for all of us to enjoy in each one of our different ways to enjoy it. FOM is not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like maybe they're like working on doing some more, but maybe that could be because they're feeling threatened from the likes of Sergio Marchionne. And we have a point right now where like so many people are so fed up of how this is like how this is working out to be, that they might be willing to throw all caution to the wind and let somebody like Sergio Marchionne swoop in and just take complete control, for better or for worse.
Lesser of two evils sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, my final quote here, I guess, on this topic from Marchionne.
Yeah.
From this weekend. And counter to the idea of anyone thinking that maybe he should be running F1. I don't think he should. He said that this weekend proved, if we had, in quotes, we would have made an enormous mistake if they had supplied Red Bull with engines. Or Toro Rosso, I guess. Well, either
Red
team.
Bull.
Toro Rosso, they gave the old engine, and obviously that was a mistake for them.
Well, no, they're talking specifically about Red Bull, but going back to like how so many people were on Ferrari saying like, why don't you just give Red Bull an engine? Give Red Bull an engine. Let's give Red Bull an engine.
Yeah, we talked about this a bunch last year, and as well, Toto Wolff, Mercedes gave the same answer as Ferrari. We don't want to give Red Bull the engine because they'll beat us with it.
Yeah.
What? Fuck that. Build a better car then. It's not all about the engine, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It certainly helps, though.
It does the job for some people, for sure.
Yeah, it helps. But Red Bull would have kicked their ass with their engine, so I don't know.
We will continue seeing this. I honestly, I guess I'd be open for a Sergio Marchionne takeover of the commercial interest of F1.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if they split Bernie's job in half and gave him that.
Okay, but I guess like to close, let's just a few like things on like the one last point to this is that Bernie still has a counter, and his counter, he's basically it's very clear now that his way to counter all this would be, he really wants to put out the idea that the European Commission can come in, take a look at the way that the F1 is run, and decide that it's a cartel or decide that it's heavily anti-competitive. If that does, they might force everybody to get out of the Concord Agreement that they signed way before 2020, and then out of that chaos, like basically he wants to create that chaos because that's the environment that he thrives in.
Yeah.
And maybe try to like sort something out, like because once things are in chaos, you can wheel and deal. You can go behind somebody's back and like, hey,
by the way,
let's fuck this guy over this way.
Yeah.
Don't worry, like trust me. So
The brilliance of the angle of Michael Schmidt's Automotive and Sport article here. It's exactly what you're saying. We've talked over the last few months about the EU Commission thing that Sauber and Force India have brought in front of the EU Competition Commission. But at this point, it seems like you just said, Bernie Ecclestone wants the EU to succeed. They want the EU to clamp down with their full power, declare Formula One corrupt, that their whole contract, the Concord Agreement that the corporation runs under, is illegal, anti-competitive, and scrap the entire thing.
And then out of that burning hot mess, he thinks
he will rise, like a phoenix.
And that's
like
why
Lewis.
I wasn't here last week, but you guys talked about Sergio Marchionne and how much Ferrari gets paid out of Formula One's revenue compared to any other team, just based on history, their history and their, in quotes, contribution to the sport and whatever. And Bernie says publicly too, I guess, playing both sides of the fence, Ferrari is Formula One. That's a Bernie quote. But at the same time, like obviously Ferrari would be pissed if the EU Commission won.
It would just make a mess. It would make a chaos. It would make chaos that would give him room to maneuver. That's the point. Bernie's running out of cards to play.
This is really, at the end of the day, though, it's why Sergio Marchionne wants Bernie Ecclestone kicked out from his job at CVC, is because at this point he wants Ferrari to not be getting paid what they're paid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a motivator as much as any other, right?
It's the best option right now. Until next week.
Is there hope for Formula One? I think so. I think the sport is going to surprise us all.
Formula One's going to be awesome for another 15 years at least. Another
thing that I'd like to borrow.
It's set that way
from Jose Ward's blog. I mean, and we've said it here before. Listen, here's the point. Horse racing is still happening, and you don't see people riding horses. No matter what the car manufacturers or anybody thinks that like the sport should be moving, what the sport should be focusing on is being the sport it is. Formula One will be here.
Isn't that what
probably be here way after we are?
Isn't that what the Brunswick House turned into? Off-track betting location.
Yes, on the top floor.
Horse horse gambling.
Yeah.
One of the oldest bars in Toronto. Like my dad told me he used to pay 25 cents, get a tray of pints with change when he was in high school in the 70s, and he used to drink there.
Nice.
It was one of the oldest bars in Toronto. Anyways, they just shut down within the past year. But that's what they've turned into, is off-track horse betting. And that's what they do there now.
At gross pharmacy, I guess.
Yeah, but horse betting though.
But it's still around. Formula One will outlive all this stupid politics.
Horses.
I'm sure of that. We're just gonna be here waiting for that to happen.
Yeah. We'll be right back with the odd bits.
I have a bunch of other stuff now in closing. You were talking, I guess, I failed to bring it up when the news was flowing. But what is it that they're doing in Sepang? What are they doing? What do we expect from Malaysia?
Yeah, pull up those pictures. I put up on the links page the Sepang reprofiling, but a lot actually. I thought I saw this over the past week or so. The Sepang, the Malaysian circuit, has been closed. I don't know. It's been closed since February, I think, for some work. They're doing some reprofiling. So the circuit originally opened in 2009. 1999. 1999. Sorry.
Yes.
So I guess they just decided to change it, keeping up with the progression of FIA and the FIM rules for the motorcycle races. So you can see here that photograph. The second one there at the bottom. This is the final corner. It's a big hairpin at the end of the circuit. They've put it completely off camber. It was kind of on camber before, but I guess progressively off camber. So the outside of the corner is a lot more off camber than the inside. But yeah, according to the article, I thought that's all they really had done, but they've actually reprofiled and changed, I don't know, almost all of it. Almost every corner. Hold on, I had a list here. I got it right here. So corners 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, as well as 8, 9, 12, and 15, the final corner, have all been reprofiled.
Nice.
And improved drainage at some of the other ones, and some of them they changed the runoff areas, which were sand. They got sanded, but
this looks like brand new concrete, man.
Yeah, it's been since February 15th. It's gonna reopen May 8th, so there's still another 4 weeks of work. They've reprofiled.
Formula One doesn't get to go there until October 2nd.
October, right?
Yeah.
The first race will be the second week of May. I think it's some kind of superbike race.
Ooh.
But honestly, this circuit is badass. This is by far I would say my favorite Tilke circuit.
We used to
Sepang.
have the Malaysian Grand Prix earlier in the year. That's how it had been for a long time.
Until
this year. Now it's been moved back to kind of make more logistical sense or something to fit.
Yeah.
To you know what, to go with somebody's agenda. It's been it's been pushed back in the calendar. But yeah, like the Malaysian Grand Prix, like it was a race definitely that I look forward to every year. And I still do, and now I do more because you know what happens with fresh new tarmac, it's still oily, right?
Yeah. So
those corners, if anything, they're gonna be slippery.
Yeah, for sure. It's been the circuit opened in '99. It's been open for a long time. So I guess really it's time. Why not?
Yeah.
Reprofile the course, change all the driving lines are going to be changed. The entries to the corners, the exits of the corners, the apexes possibly on some of them, especially this last corner, which was one of the most difficult and one of the probably hardest on tires. Now even more difficult with a narrower racing line.
Yeah.
I don't know. It should be awesome. I love this. But yeah, this has been announced in the past week. I guess most of the work is done. Some of the runoffs have been changed from sand to pavement. I guess
they do that that's mostly for the bikes.
Yeah, for the super bikes and MotoGP.
Yeah,
you race there. But
FIM, the FIA equivalent for motorcycles. They're really keen on changing all the runoffs from gravel to tarmac.
Right?
Oh, really?
It's safer for bikes.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, I guess like if you're in a motorcycle that's going like over 200 kilometers an hour and like crash into a pile of gravel, you're gonna get hurt.
You get thrown. You get thrown top. It's called top siding on a super bike.
Oh, wow.
We fly over the outside of the bike. Whereas if it's paved, your leathers are gonna protect you, and you'll just slide. You'll just stay on the low side. The bike will stay down.
Cool.
But if you hit the sand, kind of like what happened to Alonso in Australia, he hit the sand and boom, it just stopped and flipped him up in the air, which is what happens to these bikes.
Oh, interesting.
The tires just kind of grip and you flip over the top of the bike and fly through the air.
But see that's the kind of shit that you want to see in F1. So it's always weird because when you add more tarmac runoff or when you change something that was pure gravel to tarmac, it's good for MotoGP. The MotoGP guys, it's good for the bikes, but it's not necessarily as exciting for Formula One because the Formula One guys would still be fine. They'd survive. Alonso got out of that crash.
Yeah.
But it really punishes you if you make that mistake. If you make that mistake, your race is over.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, and that's
those paved runoffs. I was kind of upset. Over the last 2 years, they paved most of the Canadian runoffs. The circuit I've been to them at all. But yeah, it doesn't punish you the same like before. Like the chicanes at Canada, like if you ran off there, you're in the grass, you're in the wall, you're in the tire wall, you're in the sand.
Yeah.
Which the runoffs that were sand. Now you just kind of regain yourself and drive across. to re-enter the race. You just keep going.
Yeah. It's gonna be a different track basically. It's gonna be. I mean, I'm not completely different, but it's gonna be a different track in the way that the drivers are gonna approach it, and it's gonna throw. It's definitely gonna throw something exciting. I'm sure it will, and by then, we'd be having that situation where the teams probably would have all really got jumped on top of the tires situation. So this is gonna be a nice little challenge, a little different challenge to have. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
So to go for the deep details, an Italian design firm called Dromo was hired to reprofile the Sepang track. The Jarno Zeffeli, an Italian designer, was chosen.
So not Tilke, huh?
No, Tilke designed the original track, but this man Jarno Zeffeli, head of Italian design firm Dromo, was hired for the resurfacing, upgrading, draining, and reprofiling. So a lot of the corners, the camber in and out, and the angle that you're gonna hit the track has been changed. So it's interesting. It's awesome because Sepang is really one of the premier circuits in the world. They get a huge turnout for all kinds of races.
They always make a big deal with F1 too. Like they really embrace it.
Yeah, it's a badass track.
Let's not forget that
it's fun to drive.
One of the biggest sponsors of Mercedes is Petronas, and they're from Malaysia, so they always make a big deal about it.
Right.
Yeah.
You see all the turquoise in those photographs.
Yeah, that's
sort of the Malaysian color, I guess.
Well, I mean,
you can see even their trees. Look at it's sort of like the color of just the color.
It's a Petronas tree.
But so I guess for the next 15 years, this is how the circuit will be. There's a different driving line. It's a new circuit. It's the same turns, but it's a whole new attitude that you need going in.
Cool.
It's awesome.
You know. Okay. So and then I also like heard you looking into Kyalami.
Yes. So
Kyalami. How do you pronounce this?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But this is the
South African track.
South African national circuit. It also has been repaved, reprofiled, rebuilt, and I guess they've sort of. I don't know if the original target, since remember we talked about a few weeks ago, Bernie Ecclestone said, "Hey, the South African GP could return. Wouldn't that be awesome? We could race there again." This is based on the Kyalami circuit renewal. They've rebuilt, reprofiled also a lot of the turns, a lot of the runoffs, changed the safety. But apparently what they're going for, what they've achieved, what they're going to be granted is a grade 2, which is FIA grade 2 is anything can race there except Formula 1.
Yeah.
Right. Formula 1 is the next level. You need bigger runoffs, you need longer runoffs, you need the helicopter.
How much fun would it be to go back to
safety center
to South Africa? I think South Africa has actually a rich racing history. They've been in Formula 1 from like
the circuit was built in 1961.
Yeah,
61.
Since 61, back like when F1 was like really coming to its own, right? Like the golden era that like so many people like look back and like in what's melancholy and the longing for those for those the good old days. They're talking about
nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia. This is one of the circuits that produce some of the best races. Mansell has some of his golden races in Kyalami, and it would be good to bring back the South African Grand Prix. I think it's a way to get back to the African market, but it has to be done right. It has to be done with the right attitude. You can get a lot of African viewers just from the South African Grand Prix, but you have to make sure that things are mobile friendly, for example, because right now Africa is a thriving continent. It's the fastest growing continent in terms of economic growth right now is Africa, but it is because they're approaching things a different way. They skipped the telephone, and everybody now has a cell phone there.
Yeah,
like they skipped having landlines. They've skipped through like many like development stages in the West and like pretty much everywhere else. dial-up, for example, and went straight to
Dial-up
like
telegrams and
yeah.
telegraphs
Yeah.
and all that stuff has got
skipped and went right to like the newest shit right now. And
SMS.
there's a vibrant, interconnected, mobile-based, like mobile phone-based technology or economy in Africa.
They're not quite really at the smartphone yet, but in
it's-
between they
that can be
skipped all that
upgraded.
shit. Yeah,
that can be
That's-
upgraded.
They
Don't
skipped all that shit in between though.
They have the infrastructure for it. There's a lot of growth still to come from Africa. A lot of companies are looking at Africa as the next thing, like the next uncharted land, and Nestle is trying to move heavy. Like there's big investment from like big established companies in Africa right now, and the success of them should. I mean, there's gonna be enough money there for plenty of years to come, and it only makes sense that F1 would want to go to Africa.
Right. So the man, Mr. Baldwin, in charge of this circuit in South Africa, he's conceded. Obviously, the track since 2014, it was bought by Porsche South Africa. Porsche owns the circuit now. They dumped a huge amount of money in there to bring other series there. But yeah, he said, yeah, obviously, we'd love to host F1. Charlie Whiting's been there for the grading process, the FIA accreditation, which they need. He's got to go check it out and sign off. But he said, as has been proven in other countries, South Africa, the government would need to support the race, and pay for most of it. But it was sold. The circuit was sold in almost like defunct, decrepit state. It was almost unusable in 2014 to Porsche for 205 million rand, the South African currency.
What does that mean?
I calculated that to be about 14.38 million US dollars.
So I mean,
in 2014,
petty cash, like really
compared to what we just talked about, the Chinese circuit, they spent almost $500 million US dollars to build that track.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like 1.4 billion renminbis or whatever.
At that point, it looks like a bargain. Obviously, you probably have to dump a couple $100 million to make it like FIA, like grade 1, F1.
I couldn't find the exact number, but I think it was somewhere around 25 million. They spent, I believe, more than they paid for the track to upgrade it to grade 2.
To grade 2,
yeah. Just to get to grade 2, which is, the pit facilities, media center,
some runoffs,
food service, everything you'd need to entertain 100,000 people. But anyways, Bernie said it could happen. They're talking about it. It's a possibility.
I'd look forward to that. I actually really would like to see a race in Africa.
It'd be awesome.
Why don't we go to Africa right now? Who knows why? I mean, I guess the Middle East is considered Africa for some people, but not really. Talking about like real, like Africa. Yeah,
it depends what country, but yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. Don't expect it soon, but they're at grade 2. They've made it. They've made it there. So I don't know. We'll see.
Right on.
We'll see.
What else you got?
I guess sticking with money.
Yeah.
Rio Haryanto.
Oh Jesus! Yeah.
You heard about this? We talked at the start of the year, even up until like a week or two before the season started. Manor wasn't sure who their drivers were gonna be.
Yeah.
Indonesia was super behind Rio. They wanted their countrymen to represent.
They promised
Indonesia.
a bunch of money.
Yeah, they promised a bunch. They paid a bunch. The government, the taxpayers, are paying his salary to drive for millions of dollars his car.
Yeah.
But to continue this dream for next year at least, they want, I think, another 4.7 million US dollars, which is I don't know, the government, before they dip into the federal budget of Indonesia to start paying for this guy's sports contract, they've opened up, I don't know what you'd call it, a charity hotline, I guess. If you're an Indonesian, you can text the word Rio to number 7788, and this will immediately bill you 5,000 rupiahs. It's an Indonesian currency, 5,000, which is equal to about 38 cents US dollars.
Okay.
5,000 rupiahs, 38 cents. up until May 16th. And they will accept this money through your phone bill. It will be added to your phone bill. And hopefully they'll be able to afford
Raise
4.7 million US dollars. In Indonesian currency, if you're an Indonesian citizen, they need 12.5 million of you to text Rio 27788 to guarantee his seat for next year.
Wow.
So this man will prove himself through his rookie season as a bona fide driver. 12.5 million SMSs are needed.
Jesus.
Times 38 cents. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Just that. Come on, get going, Indonesians.
Come on, guys. I believe in you.
Another guy who could use your tweets right now is Vijay Mallya.
Jeez, are we closing with this Vijay Mallya thing? All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the last thing I got.
All right.
Well, let's close with that.
Yeah.
I got one more. Jackie Stewart in the past week, a legend of motorsport, of Formula One.
Also known for sometimes not having, how do we put this politely? Running his mouth.
I guess so. He's proposed in the past week that Mercedes should leave Formula One right now.
See, I didn't read that article, but I can just imagine Jackie Stewart saying something that makes absolutely no sense.
Well, his reasoning makes a bit of sense.
Okay, what do they say?
It depends which side of Mercedes you stand on, I guess, if you're a fan or not. But his reasoning is, as Mercedes did in the past, and as Ford did with their Cosworth brand, they stepped back and they continued to supply engines to the sport. So he's not suggesting they completely abandon Formula One and disappear.
They're saying
obviously,
so get rid of the works team.
Get rid of the Mercedes works team and continue to supply engines, because Mercedes right now, they're on top of the world. They've built probably what's believed to be the most efficient gas-powered machine ever built. Their race car.
Yeah, that's true. That maybe that doesn't get enough attention. Their F1 car is the most efficient
gasoline burning machine that has ever been built on Earth by humans.
Jesus.
But
never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Jackie Stewart's argument is that eventually Ferrari, Honda, McLaren, Honda, powered by Honda, they're gonna beat them, and at that point, their big right now, money's not a big problem to Mercedes.
No.
Daimler's behind them. Petronas is behind them. They have a lot of big sponsors that are paying for a lot of what they're doing. Monster Energy.
Yeah.
All these guys.
BlackBerry, Qualcomm, etc. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so many. Epson.
Yeah.
Epson. Hugo Boss. But at some point, and in the not too distant future, because no team has ever dominated the sport for more than 4 years. For a few years before everyone figures out what's going on,
or the regulation change completely.
Yeah, or the rules change. Somebody's gonna beat them. But if they continue, and when they do, they're big sponsor. Daimler, they're not gonna be too happy, right?
No.
Oh, Ferrari beat us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if they continue building as badass a machine as they have been, everyone's gonna want to buy it. If they left and said, "Hey, the motor's for sale. What? Anyone can buy it. Red Bull, you want it?
Yeah.
Toro Rosso, you want to drive this?
You like what
you guys want to buy this? You know what I mean? In that context of not being dominant forever, it makes a bit of sense.
It does.
And that is Jackie Stewart's argument. And his quote is, gentlemen, how much does F1 cost us? Okay, money's not a problem because we have major sponsors, as Mercedes do, but the risk is they'll be beaten by Ferrari, Red Bull. A race or two is not the same thing, but he said, maybe I'm the only one who thinks this way, but that's exactly what I would do, and it would be good not only for Mercedes, but for the sport. And he's kind of right.
Yeah.
It would be possibly better for the sport because it would blue screen of death.
Hashtag rip Danny's laptop.
Damn.
Good. I just finished the story. Anyways. But I don't know. Anyway, an old guy running his mouth. He doesn't work for Mercedes.
No.
But it does kind of make sense. I want to see them push as far and as long as they can, kick ass as a works team, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
I think everybody would like to see that. And if Ferrari comes and like steals their trophy, you'd like to see them claw their way back. You know what I mean? Like you'd like to see them race. Let's race. That's how it should be.
Once they do get beaten,
Yeah.
that's what you want to see next is when are they going to come back? How are they going to do it?
Yeah.
Who's going to drive the car? Who's going to design it? Blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. Whatever. This is interesting. Interesting quote.
Can we talk?
Generated some waves.
Can we talk about a fat brown man with a funny haircut now?
The king of good times?
Yeah.
The king of good times?
Wait, the former king of good times.
The former king of good times,
And now
according
he's probably like the king of running away.
according to who's that? The New York Times? Al Jazeera?
Yeah, this is the former king.
Al Jazeera has referred to Vijay Mallya as the former king of good times.
The ones called former king of good times.
Yeah. He was even, I believe in India, Vijay Mallya was sort of a figure before he even got into F1.
Yes.
He was
a
guy.
brand.
He was a billionaire. He was a party man. He bought liquor companies.
He's no longer a billionaire.
No.
He made his millions from billions.
So now the Indian, my computer's off right now, so I don't remember the exact name, but the Indian
directorate or whatever, the enforcement directorate. That's what it was. Yes.
Oh, right. The Enforcement Directorate, which is India's financial crimes investigation department, whatever you call it, agency.
So they reached the courts basically, and they got a warrant, right?
They've got an arrest warrant granted for Vijay Mallya's arrest.
And this was after his diplomatic passport, because he holds. Let's not forget.
Okay, he's a member of parliament.
He's a member of the Indian Parliament, and he's on the lam in England.
He says he did not abscond. He refuses to admit that he's absconded from India, that he escaped his persecution from the government to England. But we can't forget, England and India have signed, I guess, bilateral extradition treaty in 1993. So he's known for a long time that he's he can't hide. He can't exactly hide in England.
Yeah.
But he owes a group of banks $1.34 billion.
Some of them state-owned. Let's not forget.
Yes, that's what I was going to mention next.
Yeah.
He took a loan. I think maybe the biggest loan that Kingfisher Airlines took was from IDBI, which is the State Bank of India.
Yeah.
The federal bank. And they took a massive loss from that loan. They loaned him the money knowing that Kingfisher was financially in big trouble. But they loaned him the money anyway. I'm not sure why. But this is important. His arrest warrant has been granted not because he owes that money.
Okay.
And at the same time, he 2 weeks ago, he said that he was willing to pay 5,000 crore, which we found out was something worth about $600 million.
Uh-huh.
He was willing to pay that back immediately, with immediate effect, but it was refused by his debtors to take that money because I guess they would rather see him in jail. I guess I'm not sure. It was slightly less than half of what he owes, but his arrest warrant, part of it is the federal bank wants to see him in court to negotiate what he's gonna pay face to face. But it's not just that he owes the money and ran away, or they think they can't prove that he ran away.
Right.
He was just visiting his family in London.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's
sure.
visiting his family in London. But this criminal investigation, the arrest warrant is granted based on some kind of new evidence, which has been refuted in every angle, that he siphoned money from Kingfisher Airlines to buy property foreign to India.
Ah.
So this is the allegation that he's
Actually,
the warrant for arrest is
Right,
being
okay.
granted under, is that he siphoned money from Kingfisher Airlines that he was the CEO, president, whatever of.
Owner.
The owner. But he took that money to buy land some sort of tropical island, or who knows what he bought.
Maybe where he's staying in Britain.
Yeah, maybe he bought the house he's in England, or whatever. Who knows? His house in India. It could be anywhere. Could be anywhere.
Not in India though.
Probably not in India, because his goal now is to never go back to India. I'm sure.
Yeah. No,
Never go back to India.
Until he's like issued a pardon of some sort, which won't happen.
But his problem now is that he's not a British citizen, and his Indian passport has been suspended by the government of India.
Technicalities.
So I think he's stuck in England.
No, he is what back in the day I would have called royally screwed.
He's fucked. He's stuck in England until a possible extradition treaty is granted, and then the federal police of England will be looking for him all day.
There is one thing that I think that is maybe like the only like sad outcome of this is that we can already see that it is affecting the racing team, and there's no way that it won't, because if the guy that previously was the top guy that would have made all the top decisions is busy running from the law,
and his partner, who was Sahara,
is in jail.
Man, who's in jail, who was the second highest guy in charge of making all the decisions,
all the big decisions.
He's got his name printed on the side of the car.
When you have this uncertainty in any business, no matter what it is, it gets reflected in the performance. Even if you try to make the argument that these things are not necessarily like connected, this and that, no, they are. If the guy at the very top of the pyramid is starting to crumble, the rest soon follows.
You should think about the base of the pyramid.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Absolutely. It's gonna happen. Interesting to see. I wouldn't want to see. We're stuck in it. Like, they'd be whoever gets stuck with a Force India team is gonna be. If they don't do something about it, like, they'd be wasting some good talent there. And Nico Hulkenberg and Sergio Perez. Yeah, they'd be wasting some good facilities there.
Shown himself to be badass.
Some like it cannot be undersold, like the fact that Force India has been able to rise above all that stuff. And hey, maybe after all of this, we're looking in the wrong place at an Alfa team coming from either Faenza in Toro Rosso or Switzerland. But maybe they'll become a good candidate for Ferrari to buy, or for Alfa. For Marchionne to move in and
Alfa Force India. Hey, why not?
And with that
Alpha Force,
and with that massive bit of speculation, I think we can call it a day.
Final.
Oh yes, right. This
Lego idea for any Lego fans out there. I'm not a huge Lego fan, but I'm behind this. Flat Out Fever now has a Lego Ideas account. If you go to ideas.lego.com and project number 138152.
We're gonna put a link of this in the description of the video, and
we got a link in the description. But what something that Lego does, I just found out a few days ago, and it's pretty fucking cool.
This is actually pretty cool, yeah.
And anyone that's watching the video, if you see this picture, somebody has designed this SF16H or whatever Formula One Ferrari. Is. So if you build, you can design and build anything with Lego. Submit it to the Lego Ideas website, and if you get 10,000 support clicks within a year, Lego will produce and sell this product.
This thing is, yeah.
Actually, I was number 316 when I supported this, and now we've reached 323 on this car.
Let's make it happen.
Afternoon.
Let's make it happen.
They give 1 year. There's a 1 year window for these Lego projects to happen. There's 356 days left for this car to be a real product.
Look it up if you're a listener. I'm sure. Like, where'd you find the original link to this Reddit? It was somewhere on Reddit or somewhere.
Someone posted it on Reddit.
Yeah.
But if you go to the ideas.lego.com or Lego Ideas website, you'll find it there. Type in search F1. There are actually a number of F1 projects.
But But this one looks
support.
this one looks badass.
This one looks badass, and it has the most support
and
the fewest
and honestly,
days of
and
any
like
of them.
yeah, this is the Ferrari. This is this year's Ferrari. How cool is that?
The white top.
Yeah. Like that's really cool. Yeah, that's something that we endorse this.
We endorse this. I don't think Bernie will. I feel like he's gonna come in and be like, I don't think so.
Not official F1 merchandise.
This is not official.
Why does he have an accent all of that? Anyway,
I don't know.
I can't find the username of whoever designed this, so I'd give a shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Hajker.
Hajderk.
Dicker.
Hajdecker.
Hajdekr.
Thanks for putting this together, guy.
Oh no, that's the wrong guy. That's a different guy. Noah L.
Oh, Noah L.
Noah space L. There you go.
Buddy, you're doing good things.
We love it.
All right, DJ.
Love it.
All right. We will see you guys next week, next Tuesday.
For the Russia Grand Prix preview.
Sorry.
And
Computer's loading up.
How does that baseline go again? Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's it.